And a good Monday morning to you. Welcome to the EST Hangout. I am Matt Iwanyk, YouTube Trev with us for a little bit. And joining us today as well, Guy Flaming from The Pipeline Show and friend of EST, and Dave Dawson, HNLive.ca. Gentlemen, Guy, thanks for coming back.
No problem.
Dave, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Okay, before we get into anything, we got to talk about the pie. We got to go. I don't know if you've seen the video.
I heard as soon as we walked in the front door, I heard all about this pie incident. So,
Oh gosh, you got to
Oil Kings game last weekend. There's a pie eating contest, pumpkin pie. There's three gentlemen. You were there. Glasses on too.
Yeah.
And you went face first into it.
Yeah.
Did you know it wasn't? You didn't have to eat it with your putting your head into it.
How much behind the curtain do we need to go on this?
I'm as much as you want
I want
to.
everything.
It was my idea.
Was it? That is awesome.
Largely. I got a text from Andrew Peard, voice of the Oil Kings, who this was maybe 5 days before. That was a Monday. This would have been probably Thursday or Friday before. Who said, "Hey, I may have signed you up for a pie eating contest." It's like, oh well. I honestly I didn't know how I felt about it because I'm a big guy. I don't necessarily like to show off that I'm a big guy. And how do you do a pie eating contest and not look like a big slog or a pig? So I thought about it for a while, and I thought, well, remember the Chris Farley Chippendales sketch on SNL?
Yeah.
Like, he's not a good-looking guy, but he leans into it and has a lot of fun with it, and then suddenly people aren't laughing at you; they're laughing with you. So I was like, all right, let's go the other way. So this is what I'll do. And I kind of pitched the idea, put me between two other guys. They're actual fans, contestants, competing for whatever the prize was. Said, I'll slam my face into the pie. And so it was good. I mean, it worked. Got them a lot of attention. I think it was on TSN that night or the next morning or something.
Nice.
So got them a lot of attention. So it served its purpose.
is there any other way to eat a pie, though?
Then face first.
Yeah, like I'm just saying.
I've yet to try that.
I mean, yeah, Thanksgiving was last week. I mean, if you put my family gathering on live stream, I do the same thing, right? So you just went public. So good for you.
What was funny was the guy to my left, they both had utensils, but he didn't use his. Like he was
used his
going with his hands. I didn't know he was going to do that.
I don't know what the best strategy would be to eat that. Because face first would be hard to win it. Because it's hard to get to the sides, I would think.
Oh, listen, and I wasn't eating. Everybody always asked me, like, how much did that pie did you eat? I didn't eat any of it. I was just
Get it off the plate.
When I pitched the idea originally, I was like, I can probably do it for like a minute or maybe 2 minutes at max. We went 3. It's a long time to have your face stuck, jammed in a pie. But it was funny, and the glasses thing, that was my idea too. They're just cheap pair of reading glasses. Okay. But I thought, all right, I'm going to stick it in there. And the idea I had in my head was that when I pull my head up, my whole face is covered, and then I take the glasses off, and my eyes are clear, and it's funny looking. Yeah. Well, my glasses broke, and it was so heavy they just kind of got pulled off my head. So then that didn't really work out. But I mean, the host there pulled up the glasses and showed it off to the camera, so it went over well.
What are I don't think you could do that with like a crusted over pie, like an apple pie.
No.
I think that'd be difficult to slam your face and then try to eat that.
I think so.
That would hurt.
Yeah, based on my coordination, I'd get a piece of pie in my eye, and then it would all just.
And that was before the game?
First intermission. So I had 2 periods to call after that.
How hard was it to clean yourself up?
Yeah, that was a challenge. I think I made it to the booth for about maybe the second minute of the second period. Nice. But yeah, it was a lot. And the worst part was in the beard. That was like having pumpkin shampoo, really thick, gross, just slimy. Yeah, so
leftovers.
That was bad. And then for the next 2 periods, it was just nutmeg. All I could smell was nutmeg. I had that. I didn't have any in my mouth, or very little, but I had a lot in my nose and in my hair, and I could feel it getting dry. And
that's awesome.
It was gross.
Do you like pumpkin pie? Because some people don't like pumpkin pie.
No, I'm allergic. No.
Really going in on the bit.
Yeah, look at me. I like pie.
Wow, but there's some pies people don't like, and
Yeah, I'm not a big lemon meringue pie. Are you lemon?
I love
you guys
lemon.
like lemon.
No, lemon's probably the one offside part for me.
I love key lime pie.
Really?
Give me a good key lime pie, and I am happy.
Strawberry rhubarb from
there we go.
Fight
Now
for
we're
Deckle.
talking. Now we're
Banana,
talking.
banana
Yeah.
cream pie is a
Banana cream?
favorite.
Wow.
Yeah.
Huge apple. You can't go wrong with an apple pie.
Apple's
very
good.
classic.
It is straight up
Yeah.
blueberry.
No cherry? No?
Yeah.
What are you, cherry? No?
Cherry, yes. I do
It's
cherry.
kind of one of
I
those
dabble
old
every now and
classics,
then.
right?
Like
Yeah.
I went to a pecan pie. That's
You
not
wouldn't-
for me. No, that one's kind of not for me.
Mm.
But generally, like I do love pie.
Mm-hmm.
Now, okay, pie or cake.
Okay, well, here's
Hmm.
what gets me out of all those situations. I have milk and nut allergies, right?
Oh.
So it covers over my desire for if I don't like the flavor. Sorry, I'm allergic, because I'm known as that guy. Right?
Okay.
So I can just get out of all those situations
Nice.
pretty
Right.
easily. It's
Yeah,
like
that's
getting a
nice.
jail-free card.
Well,
It's pretty sweet. Banana cream is great, but then
Oh,
it
yeah.
gets in my throat, and then I'm useless in my work. So
Yeah.
it's like, it shoots
That'd be a tough one to do when you have
scores.
You called a bunch of games this weekend.
Yep, did 5, which primarily is kind of average for what I end up consuming for the weekend. But yeah, and I'm one of those guys. There are guys that can do, 10, 12 games in a weekend. Peter Labardius, who works with us, he is just an absolute professional,
Machine.
incredible guy. He's coached me a lot. He said, Dave, you got this nice richness in your voice. Why don't you just dial it down? I can't. When it's 2-2 and it's late, I'm screaming. The game's over. I can't talk. So, 5 was enough for me. And then, it was a lot of couch time on Sunday afternoon.
I can imagine. Well, that's got to be something on the voice. I've never done play-by-play or color or anything like that. How many have you got done in like a weekend of color?
color. Well,
Like
there
at most
back
that you
in days. Actually, Dustin Nelson and I did Viking Cup. This was in Camrose. Would have been 2004 or
Yeah.
5, somewhere in there. And we did a 6 periods. I think it was 4 periods of overtime. Maybe there was a game that went a long time. Switzerland and Slovakia or the Czech Republic or something. But we probably did maybe 2 or 3 games in a day. But in a tournament like that where you're doing 2 or 3 games over a 7-day period, they start to add up for sure.
Did you?
I was just saying, and color is maybe even more difficult than play-by-play, because
You
play-by-play.
think? Really?
Well, in a lot of ways, you prep differently. For play-by-play, you're looking at stats, you're looking at tendencies. Where color, you're looking outside the game, right? So having the ability to not repeat yourself and describe things and come up with new content
that's
continually.
fair.
If you're doing 3 in a row,
Yeah.
I mean, good for you. So
Well,
yeah,
thank you.
Have you done color?
yeah.
How much more difficult is it to prep for a color game? Because I guess part of what you're saying is what's happening on the ice. You really can't plan for that as much. Like, how much prep do you guys both do when you get ready for a game?
Yeah,
For color.
For color, I think my strategy would be to get more of the people stories. So talk to the coaches, talk to some of the players. What was your practice like this week? Maybe if there were different situations, et cetera, where if I'm doing play-by-play, I'm just getting streaks and things like that I can drop in. That if I'm by myself, you got to prep for both. But if I'm a color guy, then it's a little more to the story. It's what I found. So
Yeah, I go for sort of statistical, like recent statistical stuff, or when guys are drafted, or if they're, a free agent or a listed player or something like that. At the major junior level, there's background that you can look into like that, or guys who maybe played together on the same team as Bantams that are now playing against each other at the WHL level, things like that. But the play-by-play guy, I try to. You're trying to add color, literally. I don't know if it's
Not literally.
No,
No, you're not adding
That's terrible,
color
actually.
to that.
Like I actually hate when people use that word incorrectly, and I just did. That's brutal.
it's okay.
But I mean, that's part
You're
of the job. You're supposed to be adding flavor to the mix. So I try to follow what the play-by-play guy is doing, and just kind of jump in where needed. And sometimes, I mean, when you go 3 or 4 minutes without a whistle, every once in a while you just got to jump in to give the guy a break as well. So yeah, it's different depending on which play-by-play guy you're working with.
And
too.
for that reason, color is really difficult, because stylistically there are some play-by-play guys who don't let a color guy jump in.
That's true.
They're very dominant.
Yeah.
So to have the patience to be able to know when, okay, here's a whistle, here's your 8 seconds, fill everything you've needed to say for 5 minutes.
It's true.
Like that's tough.
That's super impressive.
Right?
Yeah.
As a play-by-play guy, I prefer having, stepping off a little bit, the line changes and things like that, feeling it out right there.
Yeah.
But I mean, for a color guy to go that long and still keeping information fresh and relevant is pretty great.
Do you have a color guy for these 5?
Rarely.
Okay. And how much more difficult is that as play-by-play guy, or do you enjoy that?
I honestly don't mind it because I prefer in various styles of play-by-play. There are guys who just focus on calling the game, right? I like to drop in my little tidbits here or there. This guy played here last year, or he's played with this guy before, so I'm doing play-by-play and color at the same time. I don't mind that if I have a color guy because then it loosens up my prep a little bit. So, for instance, on HNLive, if we do, we have the Rocky Mountain Classic coming up. It's a U15 AAA tournament in Calgary. There's 24 teams. It's our third year doing it. So there'll be 5 or 6 games in a day. When I schedule somebody, often they'll say, yeah, just give me 3 or 4 games in a row. So a guy like Tyler King, who does the Okotoks Oilers in the AJHL, he'll have all this information that you prep for 4 games in a row, so 8 teams, and then be able to do color and play-by-play together in one rolls. Pretty compressed. So I don't mind having a color guy. I prefer it, but I'm almost, you just know, okay, I'm going to have to do all this on my own, so may as well.
Yeah. So you can tell a guy who's a play-by-play guy who has worked by himself a lot.
Sure.
Like Jack Michaels, you could tell he worked by himself a lot. Because more so than a lot of play-by-play guys at the NHL level, because the color guy doesn't necessarily jump in as often as you watch an American broadcast, and they actually drive me crazy sometimes, where the play-by-play guy is telling a lot of stories instead of describing the play, because I think that's sort of the color guy's job. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that drives me crazy a little bit, but you could tell Jack Michaels' background. There were a lot of times when he was
the
up
only
guy in the booth.
Yeah, and he was doing that for a long time up there before he came here to Edmonton. Trev, have you ever done play-by-play?
Play-by-play?
Interest or?
Yeah. I mean, that was my favorite thing. Like growing up playing NHL video games, I'd always turn the volume down, and I'd just be like, "Oh my gosh, we got Alashevsky! Here we go!" Yeah. So I love doing that. I had a lot of fun with that. Yeah, exactly. I was a big fan of Kevin Quinn, for the Oilers for all that time. And so when I went to college, I did a little bit of play-by-play, but it was during COVID, so everything got shut down. Our second year was when we were supposed to do the ACACs, do color and do play-by-play, but then we had nothing to comment on, so it kind of sucked. But I mean, if the opportunity ever presents itself, I think I'd like to give it a go. But it just huge props to you guys, because it's all on the fly, and I don't know if I don't know.
I've always
if I
been
can
too
do
scared
that.
to do it.
Yeah,
it's just not for me. Like I know that's not for me to do.
My pronunciations with names, I'm like, no, I'm not gonna give that a go. So it's pretty impressive.
I think play-by-play is a lot harder than it looks. I think a lot of people think it's not all you're doing is describing what's happening, but you got to do it so quickly.
Yeah,
yes.
And it's just the flow. You guys make it seem so it's very good.
Well, I don't do play-by-play. I never have. Although Corey
You
Graham
did it once, didn't you?
No,
I
Corey
thought
Graham
somebody was
actually
sick and you had to jump in.
No,
Okay.
Really?
I'm trying to. I
Wasn't
thought
me.
someone had to jump in once, because maybe I'm thinking someone else.
not that I can recall. I think I would remember.
I
that.
think you would. I think you know better than me.
But Corey actually said to me, "What I think it might have been like the last game of the season. Hey, we went to a media timeout or something. He's like, you want to do play-by-play the second half of this period?" I was like, "No." I got
Voice
nervous.
just goes up.
I kind of kicked myself because I think it would be fun to try it, but
Sure.
just the thought of really embarrassing yourself live like that. Of
me.
course, I'm the guy who sticks his face in the pie, so I guess maybe at this point it's a little different.
And again, never have done play-by-play. So but guessing, I feel like hockey would actually be one of the more difficult sports to call. Like I feel like football. You've done football.
Yep.
I feel like that's almost easier because it's a play, it goes, and then it stops. And you just almost feel like you would
like
just
a
reset the
routine.
play. Yeah, you could reset the play, and then you're describing that one little play. Whereas hockey's so fluid and so much could happen. And it's not really, it's much more unpredictable
For sure.
than other sports like football. That's where I feel like hockey's got to be a lot harder.
I would almost figure baseball might be the most difficult. Because
Really?
if you listen to the commentators, they're very rarely talking about what's going on.
That's
it's
true.
all just
a
casual
lot of
conversation.
physical still.
Yeah.
Same as soccer. You're
is
really
pretty
not
impressive.
talking about
Yeah.
what's going on. Right? Where hockey, you can let you bring it up, then you bring it down. You let the sound dictate, and it's if you like adrenaline, hockey's the one, because if you get up and you ride that tempo, there are guys who stay up for the whole play and it's nice and cold and he's going like no, just
Simmer down.
bring it down a little bit, right? But I don't consume a lot of baseball, so I always get anxious if having to get thrown in for a baseball game but yeah, and football for me, I find could be fairly difficult because of so many different scenarios statistically.
Oh, okay.
So when I'm setting up my booth for the Wildcats games, like it is wall to wall sheets because you never know. Tackle for a loss, field goal, what's his longest, how many picks has this guy had? There's so many different scenarios. So and maybe it's just because we're Canadian and we all grew up wanting to do hockey.
Yeah.
Like you're sitting there commentating the games, right? So it just becomes natural. That might be why we feel that way. I don't know.
Yeah. Interesting.
Do you call a game of football and hockey differently or other sports? Do you find that the tempo of the game changes the way you call it?
Great question. And the way I use my voice changes in football too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's my cadence slows right down. Where for hockey, it's easy to get caught up in the emotion of the moment, especially if it's end to end, and so you kind of lose track of yourself there. But for football, I kind of methodically dissect each part. And my color man, Rob Harrod, he played for the Edmonton Football Organization years ago. He's incredibly knowledgeable and also a good friend of mine. So it's not really like having a color guy. We're just two buddies.
Yeah.
Nice.
Just talking. It's like a podcast,
that
but
makes it
the
easy.
game's going on as well. But I do call it differently for sure.
Because I noticed I mentioned the Viking Cup. Another broadcaster I worked with was Al Coates, who we know from baseball, doing Trapper games and everybody else.
What did you work with him on?
He did Viking Cup hockey games,
He did hockey.
which was Al Coates was a outstanding baseball broadcaster. He had the
wasn't the
same
same
pace for baseball that he brought to hockey.
Okay.
Which put him behind. I thought because hockey moves so much quicker. That was
Just a little bit quicker than baseball.
There's a guy standing in the field. He's still standing in the field.
I don't want to speak badly of him because he was a good guy. I liked working with him, but it felt like he was out of his element because it was different to hear a baseball guy call a hockey game at the same pace that he would call a baseball game.
Great point.
Have you done TV calling or is it just radio?
TV. Have I never done TV?
Because you've now done both, have you? You've done radio and on video. Like, how different do you prepare differently for those?
Yeah, well, and the way you call a game on TV, you let the pictures tell the story as well. You don't need to say left point, right point, near side half wall, goalie behind the net, left hand shot. You don't have to say things like that because you're not painting the picture. For TV, you just kind of let it breathe. And again, I go back to Peter, who's not only been a good friend of mine, but a mentor as well. Just watching his cadence and the guys who are great, like your Chris Cuthberts and people like that, right? They can really just let the pictures tell the story. Where on radio, you do have to change that up a little bit for sure. So
yeah, I don't think I've done games on TV. I've done games that have been on TV, but only for the radio side of it.
It's audio only.
Interesting.
Besides Kevin Quinn, who and the other broadcasters, you
Play-by-play? Dave Randorf, I guess. And Chris Cuthbert, those guys for sure. But that's pretty well it, honestly.
Mike Tirico was one guy. I've never been as big of a fan of his football call. And then I heard him do back on the old station on ESPN radio. We did the NBA Finals one year, and he was calling it before he left ESPN. And he was amazing at that one because he painted the picture with his words so unbelievably well. Yep. To me, he was a way better radio guy than TV guy. Yeah. He was and that's the key. Like the description on the radio, like painting you that full picture because you get none of that benefit of TV. Right. The guys that could do it on radio, it is something else. You guys have inspirations that you guys have had, that got you into this, or
for me, growing up in Winnipeg, it was Kurt Keelback.
Okay.
The boy voiced the Jets for years, and he was the guy that got me excited about play-by-play, much like Trev. I was, commentating. I had remember the table hockey games?
Yeah.
So I used to play both ends by myself because I didn't have a lot of friends growing up. But no, I'm just kidding. But anyway, I just like doing that. And, my first game when I was in Whitecourt Junior B, years and years ago, my mom listened to it. Oh, it reminded me of you commentating on the hockey games. Like, Mom, those are horrible memories of me with no friends in my childhood. But Kurt Keelback for sure was the one who got me into it. Gord Miller is pretty underrated, I think, for play-by-play.
Oh, yeah.
Really enjoyed him and just his excitement levels. And I find the more of somebody that I consume and I watch, I kind of model my calls after them. So obviously I spent a lot of time with Peter and even when I'm asking questions during interviews, I find Elliot Friedman, even Ryan Rashog are both very good at getting to the point, driving right in, getting your information and getting out. Where sometimes interviewing, if you only have a few minutes with a guy, you can flop around and not sure what you're looking for. So, yeah.
Probably for me, from a color guy perspective, would be Sam Cosentino.
Yeah. He was a guest for a long time, too, with you on the Pipeline show.
Did it for a lot of years doing CHL games on Sportsnet. And, he became a good friend, still is, from long distance, good friend. But always was a guy that made time to sit and chat. And I would watch him. A lot of what I did watching Sam was pregame stuff or the day before. You go to a Memorial Cup and he'd be there with whether it was Pete Labardius for a long time or RJ Broadhead, and you'd see how they're talking to the coaches and stuff like that and trying to watch how he prepares for a game was something that I did for sure.
Trev, you going to try to do play-by-play still?
No, I don't think so. But no,
I mean, I can throw you on a mic at some point.
There's
always opportunity.
There's a lot of opportunities.
There's always people looking for play-by-play.
Yeah, give her a go.
Okay,
I don't know if I have the voice, but yeah, I'd like to give her a go. I think I was kind of like I had the bubble hockey as well, and so I did that a lot too. So and I was always my grandma. She told me that I was just lights out, but I was a kid, so she was probably just telling me that.
Funny, you're talking about how you didn't have friends and you were playing both sides of the table hockey. I used my hockey cards and would play like with a checker or something like that. And how many good hockey cards I fucked up over there. Like really good hockey cards. I probably had a Gretzky rookie card.
Wayne Gretzky, who's
that
this?
was freaking all creased up and shit because Dum Dum is. Well, I was going to say playing by myself in my room playing hockey cards. Yeah.
I will say this. You just accomplished the first for Edmonton Sports Talk.
That's an EST first.
I think you're the first one to say the F word.
Oh, shit. Sorry. That's okay. I thought J-Mo did that a long time ago.
No, he said something different. Oh. But no, he said what you were going to say. But no, welcome. You're now part of the history of EST. I think you're the first one to pull that word out.
The viewers
and what's great is
we all witnessed this.
20 kids listening. Apologies. Beyond that, we're loud. We don't have a CRTC complaint coming our way. So, wow. Guy Flaming, the first one to do that. Well done.
We'll put that
Guy
up
Flaming, Dave
Maddie?
Dawson, YouTube, Trev, Matt Iwanyk with you here on the EST Hangout. Jason and Leduc into the Paris Jewelers inbox 780-218-9999 saying Rod freaking Phillips. And he did say freaking. Spency 5 Sensi in the nasty chat saying Bob Cole and also Jack Michaels GOAT and Killback. Is that what it is from?
Yeah,
Winnipeg?
Kurt Killback, yeah.
Cash saying he was awesome. Agreeing with you on that one. So
I like Danny Gallivan when I was a kid, but you're too young to.
I don't remember that
you
one.
You certainly won't. But yeah, he was old school hockey night in Canada for a while. And
one of my favorites, I love John Shorthouse with the Vancouver Canucks. I think he's one of the best in the country calling hockey right now. I remember I would help the Canucks radio broadcast when they come to town for many years, and I'd have to listen while I'm trying to get a player at intermission for them. And I was like, this guy has just unbelievably great call.
Yeah.
Like, how is this guy not doing more than just the Vancouver Canucks?
Sure.
And I don't know, talking with Dave Jamieson a lot, I guess. He's from the Vancouver area and goes, they've always had great play-by-play guy out there, Jim Robson, and just there's some greatness that comes out of Vancouver. Jim Houston, I know he got a lot of hate towards the end of his time in Hockey Night in Canada for being quote-unquote a Vancouver homer or whatever.
Right.
I felt he was like, it's Chris Cuthbert, Jim Houston, Doc Emmerich almost as like one ABC in hockey.
Doc Emmerich,
I forgot about
sure.
Doc. He's
I haven't had the privilege, didn't have the privilege of meeting him, but I heard he was just one of the most incredible guys you'd ever been able to encounter.
Doc? Yeah. I did meet him once. Man, I embarrassed myself though. I thought he was, when I met him, I thought he had been doing NCAA Frozen Four tournaments. He had not. But I went to him. It was Gary Thorne that was actually doing the game. Very different voices. I don't even know how I confused them.
Gary did some of the NHL video games, I think, for a few years.
Yeah, I think you're right.
He did, yeah.
But I went to Doc, and this is a credit to how generous and nice and polite this guy is. I complimented him on doing the Frozen Four, and he just played it off like, hey, thank you. I really appreciate that. In his head, he's like, this fucking guy has no clue who I am. And I completely embarrassed myself, and I didn't discover that until afterward, but that's just how classy and cool Doc Emmerich was, that he wouldn't be like, dumb, I didn't do Frozen 4.
You have the wrong guy.
Yeah.
Go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do have a question now for the two of you, because you guys have something very similar. And like in this city,
Same hairdo?
obviously.
Same
Where's
beard,
that?
both like pie. He just went public with his, the way he consumes it. Yeah, I mean, maybe there's a camera in my place somewhere I'm unaware of yet, but anyway, that just got awkward.
The Edmonton Oilers dominate the discussion in the city of Edmonton. There's less media nowadays. The less media is focusing, obviously, on the Edmonton Oilers. But you two have a focus on the amateur side of things. You have the Pipeline Show where you focus on the CHL, junior hockey, NCAA hockey. You call Wildcats games. You're around JPHL, all of that. What makes you guys, where's the passion? What draws that passion to focus on the amateur sports for you two?
I don't know what it is for you, Dave, but for me, it's getting to know the guys that are going to be big stars before they're stars. That's kind of the whole genesis of where the Pipeline Show came from originally. And I still love that. And I back in 2004, 5, 6, before the Pipeline Show started, I was doing Oilers. I was in the dressing rooms and getting post-game audio for Team 1260 and stuff. And actually, it kind of sucked the fan out of me having that experience. And I didn't really enjoy it as much as I thought I would. But doing the juniors is different because they're not, I don't want to say spoiled or entitled yet. It's just a different atmosphere. For me, it's more enjoyable.
Yeah, I'm going to go on the same road as you, Guy. I really feel it's the people for me. Has a lot to do with the accessibility we have. The Wildcats, I just finished my 3rd season calling games for them with HNLive and just being able to meet some of the people. And, looking at some of these athletes, like, Travis Haggard was on the Elks practice roster all year. He's 6'6", over 200 pounds. Like, not even sure if he's going to go into the CFL draft. Right. The Elks might just go, we're going to take you. Right. And just an incredible individual. People like that, and then getting to, Landon DuPont, who's going to go first overall this year in the Western League draft, getting to, interview him last year with Mickey DuPont of the Rocky Mountain Classic. His coach, Mickey, obviously has played international hockey for Canada for years. Getting to watch the interactions and just the way that people are wired. And for me, back in the day working at Shaw, doing the Shaw Western Hockey League on Shaw and the Canada West on Shaw, got my, toe dipped in it there. And then I really have not only a tie to the athletes, but when young broadcasters come in out of school, being able to coach them, help them, mold them, provide opportunities for them. As a young broadcaster myself coming out of school, this entitled, arrogant, I've done 5 games. I'm going to be in TSN in 5 years. And then, having people grab you and go, let's work with your attitude and, how do you treat people? And so things like that. And all that together for me has made it really special. And getting to, I've known Guy for a long time, never met him in person. Guys like Dean Millard, Andrew Peard, Corey Graham, just the incredible people on that side has been a real difference maker for me.
I found that 16 to 20-year-old players are happy to talk with you.
Yeah.
Whereas pro players don't want to talk to you. So the atmosphere, just that the interaction is completely different. So that I felt when I was covering the Oilers, feels like it's an overstatement, but around the NHL rink, that you were almost unliked or you were a hassle, something they had
a
to
chore
do.
for them, almost.
Yeah, whereas junior guys they're happy to talk with you. It's exciting for them.
And they feel like that you're looking for the dirty story, maybe the pros, right?
Sure.
Like trying to expose them. Where you get an opportunity to interview somebody who's 15, 16, 17 years old, right? They're just trying to make it somewhere. Like, you have the ability to help shape the future for them, and having that privilege to share a great story rather than look for that dirty. I mean, hey, there's a need for both sides of it in our world for sure, but I far more, much like Guy, I'd happily have the ability just to tell a great story and meet some of these great young athletes.
That's super cool.
Well, and the one thing about amateur sports too, I guess, is like I haven't been around it as much as you guys or as close as you guys, but just knowing that when you're around the Oilers, it can feel a little more like a chore, but there's a different feel to it. But you're focused on almost sometimes the business, and you're dealing with caps, and you're dealing with player playing. Darnell Nurse taking a lot of heat because of his contract, all that stuff. Whereas I feel like when you're at the amateur level, when you're watching the Oil Kings or Wildcats or the Golden Bears, whatever it is, it's just the love of the sport you're there for.
Yeah, kind of. And it's also sort of discovering something that isn't widely known yet. If you're going to the Oilers, and I think a lot of just casual fans, they'll watch the post-game interviews or they'll read the stories in the paper, and it seems like the reporters are asking all the same questions. It's because they're only getting access to 3 or 4 guys sometimes, and everybody's got the mic in at the same time. You don't have those one-on-one interactions like guys like Jim Matheson would have had 20, 30 years ago, where you could sit next to a guy in a dressing room for 20 minutes and just shoot the stuff. shoot the shit.
Gonna have the Guy Flaming swear counter.
We're gonna be so high after this one.
So it feels a lot different, but yeah, whatever.
I love it.
and honest, and I think for many years, even going back to 10 years ago, this city well known for Oilers or bust.
Yeah.
Even through the rough years, right? You look at some of the teams that have won over the years. The Golden Bears have been dominant. The Spruce Grove Saints, the Oil Kings in the years that they won didn't necessarily get the coverage that maybe they could have deserved. So, and I feel like that, that's changing a little bit now. Sherwood Park Crusaders are getting good crowds. Spruce Grove Saints have been a wagon for a long time. So I love the fact that Edmontonians maybe are bonding now a little bit more to some of the amateur sports, because it is a privilege to meet some of these youngsters, and you never know who's going to make it, right? Carter Savoy, when I was in Sherwood Park a few years ago with Brendan Escott, right? Still a great friend of mine, an incredible play-by-play guy, and a great person. We have
6:30 Chet.
Yeah, we have. There was Michael Benning on that team, Carter Savoy, both of them get drafted. And be able to see, wow, okay, now Carter Savoy, Dylan Holloway, that year played for the Okotoks Oilers, getting to call some of his games. Now look where he is, right? So I think people often just get married to I want to see who's big now, right? And rather than go to the amateur level, you maybe only have to wait a couple years till this guy's a big deal.
It's one of the reasons, at least I love the Trappers in the city, is the names we could say that, they played here. I got to see them before they hit it big. You are from down south Alberta.
Yes.
And you saw Makar.
Kale Makar.
You watched him through the junior,
we
through
watched
the AJY.
Yeah, we got to see him quite a bit in his last year with the Bandits. So
how was it watching him at that age?
It was pretty sweet. I mean, it doesn't get any better. It just lights out. Like, not even, it was no competition. There was games it would be like 14-0, like against that's supposed to be competitive, and it just wasn't. And just way above anyone. It was really impressive to watch. Everyone knew that it was going to be something special, and it clearly is. And so pretty cool.
And you could go watch them in Brooks for 10 or 15
bucks.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. And a super nice facility too.
And now you're paying $200.
Yeah.
But look at Connor Bedard. Last year you could go watch him in Edmonton for $20.
Yeah. And then it was also before he really, we all knew Connor Bedard was going to be huge. But it was halfway through last year, after the World Juniors, the WHL road teams really started going, Connor Bedard's coming through town. And I think he'd already finished his games here in Edmonton. And so they're when it was at Edmonton, it wasn't even this big deal.
The first game
they sold out the Saddle Dome or something like that.
Yeah, and Saskatoon, Saskatoon raked it in because they got to play playoffs against the Regina Pats, and it went 7 games, and they were the higher seed, so they had 4 home games against Connor Bedard in a building that holds SaskTel Centers of about 15,000 or something, and they're used to getting maybe 5, 6, and that's a pretty good junior hockey crowd. So they were pretty happy to go up against the Pats in the opening round of the playoffs.
Just playing off of this city and amateur sports, have you, you just said that people are coming around? Have you felt that the people in Edmonton haven't been that close or care that much about amateur sports and it's grown back, or is this a good city for amateur sports, in general, in terms of support?
In my opinion, it's still an Oilers town first and foremost. Everything else is a very distant second.
Yeah.
The Oil Kings, I mean, last year they were the worst team in the league, so you expect there to be a bit of an attitude shift from the fans. This year they're a better team, but the crowds have been very small. It's always like that in October, though. The group ticket sales start kicking in probably around Halloween, so I think that'll start changing. But even a bad crowd for the Edmonton Oil Kings, 3,500, 4,000 people, most junior teams in the country would be thrilled to get 4,000 people. The problem is that the Oil Kings play in a building that holds 19,000 or whatever it is. If there was a 9 or 10,000 seat facility in this city, like the London Knights have, it would be probably full most nights.
Well, it's
and
like the Elks.
Yeah, it would be perfect.
Where like we're talking now, the Elks smaller attendance is like they're gonna shut out down the lower or upper bowl because they're not getting the attendance down, even just to build an atmosphere.
Yeah.
And the Oil Kings, like imagine if the downtown community rink was instead of the 1,500 seats or something, it was 6,000.
Yeah.
And that was for the Oil Kings.
Yeah,
And
it would be great.
what would you have? And then the buzz, well, one, trying to get tickets would be harder, which creates that little buzz. But then when you just have everyone closer together, that atmosphere just comes across a little bit better.
For sure. And I wonder how that translates to Commonwealth Stadium because it's open air.
Yeah.
I don't know if the atmosphere is the same. I know having just the lower bowl at Rogers Place, it's still a big cavernous building. And I don't know what it's like down there, but in the broadcast booth, you're miles away from the sound. You really don't hear a whole lot up there. But the crowd might, being around 6,000 or 7,000 people in the lower bowl probably feels a lot different than it does way upstairs.
How have Wildcats attendance has been? Like,
You know what? Since they moved out to Sherwood Park to Emerald Hills Pavilion, great facility. And, you had Jason Milne on, vice president, incredible guy, and just...
Glue guy of EST.
Glue guy. Apparently that's what...
He's our glue guy.
And you know what? He, in a lot of ways, he has been the glue guy since coming into the Wildcats organization. They had some changes they had to make, and from Brad Gatchin, now Megan Tanner, part of the vice president there as well, that the experience is different. Even though they haven't been able to translate into those wins, they're starting to get some of that crowd, and they even had said, you feel lost in Edmonton in the football community, right? You have the Huskies, you have the Bears, you have so much going high school football. You have a little more opportunity to develop an identity in Sherwood Park. Even the games that Saskatoon comes to town, just rolls through them, still have great crowds, right? And they come back again and again. So, it's I do like the vantage point, and the support has been good and better for them. And I just to put my thoughts on the end of that Elks situation, I agree. I think close off the upper bowl, and I think it's a good idea.
Good.
Yeah, I do hope. I went up to the upper bowl on this weekend just as one last time. Went to the top seats.
The very, very back. The one guy sitting in that section.
The problem was I wanted the corner of where I was going up, and as I'm walking up, there was 4 people in the corner. It's like, I can't even go sit in the corner of this all. So I had to be like a section over. But I wanted to go up to that top row one last time before next year. I hope that we get to a point where we can reopen the upper bowl again, because that means they're selling tickets for the Elks. But it's so nice up there. It's so wonderful up there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But when you have 31,000 seats in the lower bowl, and you're only selling 20, the attendance was 22.5, I think, this past weekend. It wasn't 22.5 in the building.
Right.
And you're spread across all of that.
Yeah.
It's where's the energy? Well, and it's also just even for the players, that atmosphere isn't going to be created because everyone's so spread out that the noise is just going to escape, I feel like.
I think the only team that has 30,000 people consistently are the Blue Bombers. The Riders' attendance is down. Stamps has been declining for years and years and years and years. So to have 31,000 seats in the lower bowl, I think that's a great idea. I mean,
You sell 31,000. That's a big attendance.
You're doing really well.
Yeah, if you could then open up
well.
even though you don't even think you have to open up the upper bowl right away in that sense. If you sell 30,000, okay, great. That's just going to be a great atmosphere in the lower bowl.
And now you have the guy to market with. Trey Ford is your guy.
Yeah.
Yep.
Take him in the offseason, school after school after school. And I was pretty vocal about this on social media throughout the summer that, I remember, the days when the Mike Riley era, right? Whenever there was just the glory days. You had, Nate Kuhorn was a good friend of mine at that point in time. So he did a lot of speaking engagements throughout different areas. I don't know if the Elks still do that. I hope they do. But I think Trey Ford is the guy that you just blast into schools, into youth centers, and bring some of those fans back.
I think they need to sign him to an extension this offseason just for even the news conference. Here's our franchise quarterback. He's locked up for 3 more years or whatever it is. You would do the full press conference where whatever media could get down gets down there. And then he's all over the billboards. He's all over your entire campaign this offseason of buy your tickets, come to Commonwealth next year, see Trey Ford. There's a star in the making that you could potentially sell, and that's what you need. And, and when you're a pro teamer like the Elks, you have that ability to sell a player right now. And then we know that's an issue of the Canadian Football League. The junior levels, like, it's a lot harder. Oil Kings, it's hard to sell a player right now because they're in that building process.
Sure.
So when you have that, take advantage of it and put that player out there as much as you can if you want to sell tickets.
Yeah. Yeah, and the Oil Kings did that a couple years ago. I mean, they had lots of marquee names, Dylan Gunther and Jake Neighbors and Luke Prokop, and so they had lots of guys that they could do that with. But right now, they're definitely in that development stage. So
you sell the atmosphere, you sell the game, the family friendly. Come
and you know
on
what?
out.
Whatever it takes, sell the opposition that's coming in if they've got a star player.
Sure.
Like Connor Bedard last year, you could do that. So yeah, sure. I think there's lots of things that they can do, and I'll give the Oil Kings a ton of credit for their season tickets this year. Unbelievable. And I don't just say that because I have some ties to the organization, but
Like pricing wise, you say?
under $9 a game.
Wow.
Under $9 a game for major junior league hockey.
You can't even buy a burger for $9.
but that's the one thing they did this year too, is they have that kids under 10 deal for concession.
Yeah.
So you get in for cheap, and then your kids and stuff, you could get them food and drinks that they need. Still cheap. You ain't breaking the bank that much going to an Oil Kings game.
No.
Yeah.
I don't know what it costs to go to an Oil Kings game for a family for the price. Like, is that a ticket to an Oiler game?
Well,
Like, is that like combined?
probably.
If you and a two parents and two kids type thing, with food and all of that, you're probably playing close to that's maybe one ticket.
Well, if you went to an Oil King game and it was just a single game and there's 4 of you, you're probably paying $20 plus service charge, and then parking and your food. Yeah, you're probably talking $120, $150 maybe, depending on what you get. And what are you paying for an Oiler game these days? I haven't been to an Oiler game forever.
Price wise, I don't know. I think you could probably buy tickets for $70, $80.
You can get them for $70, $80.
Yeah. So now you're getting only 2 tickets, and that's nothing else.
Right.
For everything you just stated, you can get with the Oil Kings. Just back to the atmospheres even a little bit here. Kevin in the nasty chat going, the Stingers are a great atmosphere in a smaller facility.
Yeah.
They're nice, tight,
Great
5,000.
point. Yep.
They do great. The Riverhawks this year, like, Remax Field is beautiful. It is a park that is big, like for minor league standards or something, but it's only 10,000. And this year, they averaged just under 5. There was a couple nights where they announced like 5,000, 6,000, and me and Cam Moon were at the games, and we're like, before that, we always try to guess. I'm like, this is easy 7, maybe 7,500, and it was like, oh, it's 5,600. Like, how is this only 56? But it, like, for some reason at that park, it made it feel like there was a lot of people, and that created a nice atmosphere. So.
Yeah, it's a great park. Ever since they did the renovations, how long was that now that they did renos? Like 20 years?
Oh, you mean built this place?
Yeah.
Or,
well, I mean, back when it was John Ducey Park, but then they
tore it down, built
upgrade.
this.
Did they completely?
Oh yeah, no, they tore down Ducey.
Oh, I thought
and
they just
rebuilt.
renovated the hell out of it.
No, I'm pretty sure it was like one winter too.
Okay.
They finished the season with Ducey Park, throughout the winter, tore it down, and that's when then it was Telus Field came up.
Yeah.
And it was in the winter they did it all.
Wow.
I don't know how they managed that, but they did it.
Wow. That's great. No, I think the ballpark here is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
It's a shame they don't have AAA ball anymore.
Well, and speaking of something we don't have anymore in the city, we've spent a lot of time on HN Live covering lacrosse in the last few years.
Oh yeah,
and I really feel this is a sport that is going to explode in the world. Like the NLL, less of that. We do the Rocky Mountain Lacrosse League, which is Junior A lacrosse. So there are guys that we did. So 2 years ago, last summer, we did the President's Cup. This last year, the Minto Cup. So the President's Cup is called Senior B, but you have some of the top guys. Keegan Ball, who's in the top 5 in scoring, we're just there in the field, just hanging out, playing with Mike Triolo, guys who are like professional lacrosse players. There's 1,000 people in the stands. Wow. But that's Mitch Marner, Elias Lindholm, Zach Hyman. There's 25,000 people lined up down the road, just dying to get in that building.
Wow.
Right? So in lacrosse, it's, the numbers in the NLL, 25% increase from attendance from last year. Oh, wow. And the atmosphere overall, getting to my point of where I want to go with that was atmosphere. Getting to do, so the Edmonton Miners, there's 4 teams in that league, the Edmonton Miners, the Calgary Mounties, the Raiders, who are in Calgary as well, and then in Saskatchewan they have a team. But getting to see the intensity. And then in the National Junior A Championship, which you did this summer, Teams from Ontario, watching some of their video footage from the rinks, like people are going nuts. It's like as if the Oilers won the cup. How intense people are. They just love the game of lacrosse.
Well, good.
Right? So I feel like that's one of those outliers in the Edmonton area that consuming, the Edmonton Miners have been very, very good for a couple of years. That's an opportunity there for a great cheap sport experience. We're talking about, getting bang for your buck. So,
and that's the thing. Like, there is a lot of places to do that in the city, but the media isn't around as much anymore.
Yeah.
And look, we have to do a better job ourselves here at EST to do it more, but to draw the attention to these bang for your buck places, because people could complain all they want about Oilers ticket price and all of that, and they have a right to, because things are pretty high, but also you can spend your money a lot of other places and enjoy some unbelievable quality. Like, I still stand by Claire Drake. To me, there's no better place to watch a hockey game
None. There's
in the
none.
city.
None.
One, based on the barn and the quality of play, there's no better place to watch a hockey game in the city of Edmonton. You haven't gone to Claire Drake, have you? We're going this year.
Playoff game. Playoff
they're
game's
like
nuts there.
I need to do a lot. Like all these places you guys are saying. I'm like,
How
I
long
haven't
have you
there
been here
yet.
now?
Yeah, how long have you been here?
This is just over a year now.
Okay.
So
Got to take them on the tour.
Yeah,
of all
man.
the spots.
We'll have to hit all of them.
Yeah, we'll definitely get on that. That sounds
So some
fun.
AJ games, some Oil Kings games,
Yes.
Riverhawks for sure,
For sure.
Stingers,
Yeah.
Golden Bears, hockey.
There's
There's
all
other
those I haven't
ACAC
done.
as well and all that.
Yeah.
Although I got to
love
go
to
see
do
the
that.
Golden Bears football too, because
Yeah, they were
not
pretty
this
good
week, the
year.
week after UBC's in town, and I don't know how fully it works. The scheduling, they could host the playoff game. I think they could, if they finish first, it's a chance they could host 2 playoff games. And I think Canada West is hosting the Mitchell Bowl this year, it is, or something. So maybe there's 3 playoff games potentially in the playoffs at foot that they haven't hosted a playoff game. I don't know how long. So it could be an incredible year when it comes to the Golden Bears and Field and this football team that I can't recall for watching this. I know Jay was part of some good teams in those 2000s. I don't fully remember them. But it's nice to see that program get going. You guys have any other underrated sports in this city? I'm just trying to think if there's anything that...
No.
Because lacrosse was a lot of fun. And I had season tickets for their first season. I loved watching it. Like I do like that they're like basketball. They have the music during the play, which brings some just extra energy to the game.
And here's why I think potentially lacrosse might start exploding in the world is because it's got some of that viciousness that we don't see as much in hockey anymore. You and I, I'm sure I don't know you that well, and you've said you've consumed AJHL before.
Yeah.
That some of those hits that we used to see back in the day, Stevens, Korea, things like that, Pekka Solani, those don't happen anymore. Those are now roughing. Those are roughing penalties.
Yeah.
Right. Even some of the events that I've been able to do. We did a U15 event with NAX was there with Edge in Red Deer a couple weeks ago. Some of the really hard hits are roughing penalties. They're head contact penalties. So lacrosse has got some of that viciousness that the game of hockey doesn't have anymore. So if people want to consume that might be the spot to do it. And the people are incredible in the sport of lacrosse. You don't get as much of that, use the word entitlement. Some of the professional players have been able to make friends with current pros and ex-pros, just great people who just want to sit down at this one, Cody Hawkins used this name, played for the Roughnecks years ago. He's now coaching in Calgary. Did the senior championships last year. I was up in the booth just getting ready for a game. He comes up and goes, "Oh, hey Dave, loved your coverage all year." We sat and talked life for a half hour. Told me about some of the health issues in his family and his kid. Now he's mentoring his kid and coaching his kid. Now we're great friends, right? Pro players, those happen in hockey for sure, but it's not as I found as common. With the sport of lacrosse, I've really started to love it. And even when the Rush were here, I wasn't as much of a fan of it. I think because I was playing in that pool with everything else. But now getting to be around the game a little more, I've really started to love it. So
That's awesome.
How many places have you called a game? Is it just like, or do you just usually during a regular season? It's Oil Kings and Red Deer.
I'll go down to Red Deer just because Andrew and I will carpool down. On the bus, I don't go on the bus, so it would be. The next place would be Calgary, but then you're driving 3 hours there and back.
How is it in Red Deer?
I love Red Deer. Red Deer's fantastic because you're the vantage point, and junior hockey in a junior hockey building is it's hard to beat. You're so much closer to the ice. You're also a lot closer to the crowd. So the atmosphere is way better. Andrew and I agree. our best games of our best broadcasting performances are in Red Deer. Way better than Edmonton because you're
feeding off of everything that's going on.
Absolutely. And the game is much closer. You're into it more. It's kind of Edmonton it's so high up. It feels kind of sterile. And the atmosphere is not the same.
Well, especially with the Oil Kings, because I've been up in those press boxes, in those games, in the booth with you guys, and you guys, like, it is far from the crowd. You know, an Oiler game, even, like, there's fans right below you at least. For those with the upper bowl not being sold, like, for an NHL game, it's already high up. Like, that's why Sportsnet, their play-by-play guys are on the concourse.
Yeah.
That it's got to be, you know, and there's not an Oil Kings game, like even an Oiler game night up there in the press box, it's busy. There's a lot of people. There's the visiting media. Yep. There's a bunch of broadcasts going on. There's the away team's management team and their scratches and stuff. Right. Oil Kings game, it's not that busy like up there, so you don't even have that buzz of the press box.
It's true. There'll be 4 or 5 guys from the other team who aren't playing because they're hurt or scratches. There'll be 3 or 4 scouts from other WHL teams. There'll be a handful of NHL scouts, and there might be a media person. Maybe. I don't know if I've seen a media person.
I don't think there's anyone covering it anymore.
Right now. I don't think
DVD
so. We'll see.
From Post Media would cover, but he's now at NHL.com.
Yeah.
So I
think Jerry Monajan will probably do it once Eskimos are done.
No, he's on the Oiler beat now.
Oh, really?
He's full-time Oilers. He's out with the Elks.
Well, so I don't know who's covering the Oil Kings now then.
You.
Yeah, well,
and you do it well.
I guess you're the
guy.
It's been you for I don't know since the inception of the Oil Kings returning to Edmonton, and it's going to remain you, I guess.
Well, but except I'm not writing stories and stuff like that. So
fair enough.
So it's different.
Yeah, but there's still the coverage, you know.
I guess
at least it's something.
Trev, could be your winner, right?
There's your way to get into this.
Thing.
Dave Dawson, HN Live. Guy Flaming, the Pipeline Show, which you hear tonight on EdmontonSportsTalk.com, coming up at 8 o'clock in YouTube. Trev, I'm Matt Iwanyk. We're going to take a quick time out. Trev's going to slide out. He's got some work to do. Lieutenant Eric's going to come back in. I want to talk about the Oil Kings, but I also do want to talk PFC, right? I always want to say
CJFL, maybe? I don't know.
I always want to go with like a PJFL or something because of that or something. So it's PFC, though.
PFC, great football
want to talk some Wildcats and stuff because Eric went to a Huskies game this year. He wants to get to a Wildcats game. I haven't been in years, so we got to do that plan for next year. We'll get into that discussion and much more here on the EST Hangout, live on YouTube at EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back in just minutes.
The Nielsen Show.
I keep thinking of Shomeat Ohtani. I want like a beef form of Shohei Ohtani, just a ground beef sitting here, and we pick at it. We call it Shomeat Ohtani, and we just keep. I'm ripping off an arm. And we got to eat the whole every
time we do the segment, we have to wheel in what's left of Shomeat Ohtani.
Every time you say show meat, I can't get it out of my head. A couple pimentos as the eyes.
Shomeat Ohtani is one of my favorite things you've ever said.
Angels cap on
The Nielsen Show featuring Lieutenant Eric. Weekday mornings at 6, only on Edmonton Sports Talk. Friend of EST, Eric Thomas, takes you around the track all the way to the checkered flag on Raceline Radio. Tuesday nights at 8 and Saturday morning at 9, only on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. The Elks Call is the newest Edmonton Elks podcast located in Edmonton, discussing everything Elks. Join friends of EST, Scout and Catherine, Friday nights at 8 on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Join friend of EST, Guy Flaming, for the Pipeline Show, Monday nights at 8 and Saturday at noon, as he has you covered with CHL, CJHL, USHL, NAHL, NCAA, and U Sports, plus the World Juniors, Frozen Four, and NHL Draft on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Tom Gazzola and Sean Bell take you on a hot lap around the NHL with Hello Hockey, Saturday mornings at 10, only on Edmonton Sports Talk. Catch Catch up with friends of EST, Andrew, Mike, and Kayla, as they get you in the huddle with the Edmonton Elks on the Turf District. Thursday nights at 8, EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Get to know the winners, props, plays, parlays, and more with Nielsen and Hustler. Weekday mornings at 11 on The Lock Shop. Only on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Get all the latest news and takes on everything Oilers with Dustin Nielsen and Tom Gazzola on the Oil Stream. Live at noon, Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays. Only on EdmontonSportsTalk.com.
I love it.
And we return here on the EST Hangout. People, I kept the mic off there, and so just the screen came up of us four, and you were finishing a story there, which is great because I know some people are like, oh, mic's off probably, and they're going to get those messages.
These idiots just turn it on.
Just full of F-bombs.
We're just practicing geese, mutant geese swears, right?
Just being prepared, just to be like, oh, I have to quickly shut this off. 8-second delay.
Yeah, I missed an hour, didn't I? Here, this was quite a spicy hour. Here.
He went to this chair, and I don't know what it was. And
that's what it is. Yeah.
Actually, that's where Dave sat. The first EST Hangout too, because he was the first one to swear. Day one.
Right.
Yeah.
There's something about that chair. We're gonna have to go burn it.
Well, it's central. It's more power. He's right at the camera. You know, it's kind
the voice you hear now for those listening to just the audio stream is Lieutenant Eric, who joins us on the Hangout alongside Guy Flaming, Dave Dawson, Matt Iwanyk with you here. You've done a post-show show, which is going to go up after I'm done with this because none of you know how to put it up yet, so I will put it up.
We're waiting.
But the Nasty Club is something we launched today. Go to EdmontonSportsTalk.com. At the very top, there's Nasty Club. It is our OnlyFans, basically, where $4.99 a month. There's also some annual memberships as well where we'll have bonus content for you. So Nasty Club, EdmontonSportsTalk.com, including the return of the post-show show. Do you want to get to the Oil Kings? Before we get to that, let's go football, because you call the Wildcats. You said that 3 years now you've been calling it. Eric, you went to a Huskies game this year.
I attended a game.
I've been
really
calling
it for 3 years, but
you were really
I did
excited.
something.
It seems like, well, you talked about the Wildcats now having their own place.
Right.
You know, I know there was a big fight between FC Edmonton and the football teams a few years ago. Is it better that they have their own places now? And is it better that they're also split up, the Wildcats and the Huskies?
I think so, because if you look at, growing each team, it comes down to where do they want to play, right? In the Edmonton area, Chris Morris has done an unbelievable job with the Golden Bears, building the program to where they are now, right? So, and, Jeff Tobert with the Huskies. I think the Wildcats getting out of that pool of Edmonton and moving out to Sherwood Park has given them the ability to, to have some of the Sal kids and the Facey kids and things like that they can, build a relationship with. Kevin Withrich, the head coach, there is, phenomenal guy building some of those relationships. I think when it comes to proximity, you're out of the fishbowl, so to speak. You're now can move out in the peripheral, build bond to the community of Sherwood Park, and I think it's been a better experience for them. Again, wins haven't translated, but some of those things aren't going to happen overnight, right? Especially at the amateur level. You need to take time to build those things, and I think they were closer this year than they've ever been.
Think they drop the Edmonton and go with Sherwood Park eventually?
I know originally some of the talks were potentially Strathcona Wildcats. That was just kind of like that maybe one day could be the concept. I refer to them one year as the Wildcats Football Club. They just wanted to try that out, and not that they were dropping the Edmonton, but it was just let's just try this out now that we're in Sherwood Park. I'm not sure what the future looks like, but that could be
location's one thing, but in a league like that, to kind of differentiate yourself from the others,
establish your own identity
as much as you can.
It'd be like if it was the Edmonton Crusaders and the Edmonton Saints.
Right.
It doesn't have the same feel as Sherwood Park Crusaders.
Yeah.
But then you're giving up the region to the
I almost
Huskies.
said St. Albert Saints. Bruce Grove Saints.
I miss St. Albert.
Going back a little.
Actually, why can't St. Albert support an AJ team?
I don't know.
Oh boy! Wow. Yeah. No, I don't know.
We got something.
A few, and it just doesn't work.
Yeah, I'm not sure why.
Yeah, they got a great facility. That Go Auto Arena. That's
great.
That's beautiful. I don't have the answer.
Okay. Well, We'll plan that another day. We'll just map
We'll get
it
to the
all
bottom
out.
of this.
But
I don't have the answer, but once
There
once
should
it's off
be
air,
an
I have
answer,
the
though,
answer.
right? There should be a good
I
answer.
think for the Wildcats, though, too, that would maybe be tough to actually drop Edmonton is if you're recruiting against the Huskies. I don't know. Maybe there's something with kids where, well, I don't want to go play in Sherwood Park, quote unquote. I want to play with an Edmonton team.
Maybe.
And you don't want to give up the recruiting ground to the Huskies, maybe?
I guess maybe.
Maybe giving it up too, as you said. Like there is that you win. Although it wouldn't be viewed, maybe some people might view it like that. I don't know, in terms of turf war.
Maybe
or
we could go, what was it, the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim?
There you go.
There you go.
Sherwood Park Wildcats of Edmonton.
Easy.
there we
Give us
go.
the acronym.
Well, let's
right?
go
Yeah.
with the full
Glue
name.
guy, what do you think, glue guy?
Jay, you better be watching. Your thoughts? But you went to a Huskies game this year, and you said that the JP Bowl was nice because it was theirs.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know you guys' experience in covering teams and such, and sometimes sharing facilities or sharing, just sharing anything goes a long way. And if you're not making billions and billions of dollars, I get that. But my experience at JP Bowl was great. I live a couple blocks away, which helps because everybody's talking to me about the parking, something that I didn't have to deal with
No
because I just
problem for
walked
you, yeah.
on a nice autumn day. But there's a lot of residential space around there, and I would say to people who do find trouble parking at the JP Bowl that you can just go down into one of the residential. Didn't hear it from me. But you can go to one of the residential streets and have a park and walk to the park. But anyways, nice place. You got that bowl shape. Nice. Love playing football in a bowl. Kind of tampers the elements a little bit. They got the nice broadcast booth kind of side. Visitors don't have anything on that side. But a nice home side. Nice merch booth. Selling burgers, dog. The whole bit going. Like it was a really great presentation of a game day, I thought. First blush, last game of the season as well. They had a lot of alumni out there kind of talking and rubbing shoulders and stuff. So good afternoon, good weather. The mighty Hilltops are in town, so you've seen enough of their football over the years, right, to see what's happening. But so they wrapped up the season, but to have a place as yours, obviously they share it with some high school football as well, but that takes precedence. I enjoyed the time, and I'll be going back. I bought the shirt.
Yeah.
I bought the shirt.
Jay was supposed to bring you a shirt to buy of the Wildcats.
A couple
and he didn't
times,
do
I
that
think.
yet.
Yeah, I offered him lots of money, any money, blank check, and he still won't do it. So, yeah, Wildcats, Huskies, whatever. But it's I like the. I'm a football guy first and foremost, and I like the differing degrees and price points and leagues that you can enjoy Edmonton football in.
That's big in Saskatchewan. Now maybe it's because you have the Hilltops there or something, but
Prairies.
because I don't feel like when growing up Edmonton, it wasn't a big
You got
for
a hockey team.
Huskies or Wildcats to go and watch and stuff. But it seems like in Saskatchewan, you guys like your brother Luke loves that football too.
WHL is very big as well, and that goes to
But the Rough Riders, it's a pro team.
Yeah,
the
it's
Rough Riders, the pro team.
team
Yes.
in the
But when you
pro.
go to hockey, I mean, that is what you have after that, and even going to SJ gets. But going back to football, I mean, Prairie Junior was huge. I mean, some of those Rams Hilltops tilts back in the day with Frank McChrystal and everything at Gordie Howe, and sold out on like a Friday or Saturday night, and pretty good football. And I've said before, it was guys that play 5 years of that, 5 years of university. And then you're like 50 by the time you can play in the CFL if you so choose. And then you go there. So you've been playing football for like 40 years. But yeah, good quality. Always good fun.
How were
And-
the Wildcats this year? Like, because I know Jay mentioned the big win this year, and how was it?
They finished 1-7. So
It's a build now.
they're building, and even some of the conversations you talk to some of the different coaches around the league before the season, they said this feels different. Like we're aware going in, this isn't going to be an easy win. Not that they were an easy win years prior. I think Darcy Park did a really good job there. I think that there's more progress when it comes to recruiting. They're starting to build a relationship, and you guys know this. It's about how you treat people now. It's not as much as where whatever works best for you. Where's the best experience for the youngster, the young athlete, and so they had some games that got away from them. They set their schedule up. They played Regina, Saskatoon, Calgary twice to start the season, or not Calgary, Edmonton twice to start the season. Those are tough ones. There was a game against the Huskies. They were down late. Backup quarterback puts one in the end zone. It was a PI call an OPI call that was debated. Wasn't really an OPI call. That would have been the game winner. And then from there, the whole season falls apart, right? So I think that while they have great athletes, I've never seen this many talented receivers. They got a guy who Nick Saban recruited in Alabama. And his grades weren't that great, so he ended up he was on the practice roster for the Bombers. Things didn't work out there.
Works, yeah.
Now he's on the practice roster for the Elks. And chatting with Kevin Withrich, a young guy, Mackay Tyrell, might be one of his best athletes that he's had seen. Right, so guys they have athletes. It's just a matter now of translating those into victories. And the Saskatoon Hilltops, don't know if you guys saw the score yesterday. They destroyed Calgary by 50 points. Like Calgary's offense was at the top of the league. They scored 2 points yesterday through 7 interceptions.
Wow.
Like Saskatoon is a wagon.
Well, it's in Sargent in that program. I mean, when you're done football, you get a job with it's you wear the jacket around town, like you are it, right? And nobody messes with you. Yeah. But I mean, and I was talking with Jay too. I mean, their facilities are almost, and that goes to treating. And WHL too. Certain teams, certain clubs maybe go a little further, maybe have the ability to go a little further and treat their prospects or their players with more. Sure. And in that stage of their life, they're looking at their parents, they're looking at, well, where do they go next? And is this the best place to kind of launch them from? And the Hilltops in that regard. I mean, you got foot baths at your if you want, right? I mean, unconfirmed, but you know what I'm saying here. It's the creme de, you got it all there in terms of that. But to your point about the Wildcats, I mean, are they looking to say, in building a team and building a winner, is it, hey, we're going to graduate you to U of A or whatever, or is it just kind of trying to assemble the best talent, wherever their minds are at? Like, do you want a junior team that are focused on making it to the next level, or do you want a junior team comprised of talented guys who may or may not make it to that next level, but they're dialed into the present? Like, or is it just a generous mix?
That's the hardest thing. Sorry, you just want to...
Yeah, no, it's very tough. All these teams, Will, Joe, junior, amateur, that's tough to balance, right? Like, in terms of...
To have your one-year guy that comes in...
The guy wants what the parents want, what everybody wants.
Yeah.
And to build a winner at the same time.
I think at the WHL level, it's you got a business model, and your business model is to get guys to pro hockey.
Yeah.
And if they don't, they've got the scholarship package as a nice safety net. I mean, I think that gets underreported or underappreciated.
It's an incredible. Like,
Fantastic.
1 year of WHL gets you 1 year of university.
Yep.
You're not
Paid
getting
for.
something better.
And I mean, you can play 5 years in the WHL as a 16, 17, 18, 19, 20-year-old, and then play 5 years for the U of A Golden Bears.
Yeah.
That's 10 years of developmental hockey for free.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's a lot of talk about going the college route, and I love college hockey. NCAA hockey is fantastic as well, but you're 4 years max there, and a couple of years, in the AJ before that, that's 6 years.
Yeah.
That's 10 years developmental hockey if you go the CHL route, or you're playing professionally and you're getting paid to do what you love. The business model for the Western Hockey League is about getting guys to pro hockey. Maybe it's, and I think, I mean, for the AJHL, it's about getting scholarships to the NCAA. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think that's basically the focus. And the AJ does a darn good job of that. Junior B and stuff like that might be more along the lines of what you're talking about. But for the WHL, it's more about...
I felt bad for Chris Morris because he was going through the motions here as you do at U of A with the team, but he was getting good guys. Like every year there'd be a guy that would highly touted draft or whatever. But still the program, you're not getting the results on the field. So you're graduating some guys, and that's looking good.
Yeah.
But you don't want it too much on that scale and not winning any games.
Right.
But then to your point as well, you want a bit of a mix. And it depends how each league or school or team weighs all this. But I just felt always bad for Morris, where he had guys coming through the system, but then they weren't doing anything in the moment. And now it's good to see kind of some winning.
To your point, though, like NCAA down south with basketball. Are you a program that wants a bunch of one-and-dones? And you try to go for that championship every year, like Kentucky Duke type thing, where they get that one guy. There's no continuity. There's none of that. You're just trying to get best players, one-and-dones. Or do you want to build a team that's going to be together for 3-4 years together, and you can maybe go for a couple of runs? And that's one challenge that they have down south with NCAA is which way do you go? I think a lot of those teams, like Kentucky and Dukes, are now trying to get back to let's build teams and players that are here for a couple of years, because it's so hard to start from scratch almost every single year.
Yeah, and aren't you paying to watch a one-and-done guy or a school or club or team that win consistently over 3 to 4 years or something like that? And you guys, you were talking Bedard in the opening hour, but I didn't catch the whole. But that's the kind of that happens in hockey too. That the exceptional guy will come along and he'll be on a team, and then I know the Pats were very steadfast in not dealing him or whatever the case was.
Yeah. Was that the right move?
Yeah, that's
because they wanted that Regina.
This kind of goes to my large point here. Yeah,
right?
Exactly. But now you could have got a.
It helps in the terms of recognition for recruiting next time for the next guy, because then they can say, listen, this guy was on our team. He's the number 1 overall pick. I understand that completely. I also understand the opposite side of how much they could have recouped because their cupboards were absolutely bare after going for it for a couple of years and hosting the Memorial Cup. There are teams who are going to be going through that right away too. Seattle was a juggernaut last year, and they don't have a whole lot in the cupboards beyond this year. And Wenatchee / Winnipeg, the Winnipeg Ice, very much the same thing. So that's the argument. Do you go for it? Are you all in? And then the next year or two, you're going to suck. So do you start trading away anything of value, and how long it takes to get out of that cycle if you do that? The Oil Kings are in that spot right now because their cupboards were fairly empty, but they were able to recoup a bunch of picks by trading guys last year. So it depends which organization. It's a philosophy thing. I think the Oil Kings have a proven track record, though.
They cycle pretty good.
They really do.
And that's that whole
like championship.
Yeah, they didn't take long to rebuild.
Like and then
because you're going to. That's the whole. That's the junior hockey side.
And here's the funny thing about Regina. Let's say they finish dead last this year. They get a shot at Landon DuPont. So you're going to have.
So now
from what they're saying,
that's a good point. There
you go.
Yeah.
Right.
There's get back into it if you can
right there
identify it.
Just the timing and the hilarity of it is like there you are.
Well, it's a Blackhawk thing all over again in a way. Hey?
just
I don't know. Like,
to just the PFC quickly. Anyone stopping the Hilltops?
No. Well, I mean,
West
Shore beat a team this year 97-21.
It always gets a little crazy when you go out to the Nationals or the one before them. When you beat the West and you got to go to the other one because you'll go out east or somewhere or something happens. And,
the BCFC is like it'll be BC and probably West Shore and Saskatoon. Saskatoon though I think just based on
they're that good.
They put up almost 300 yards rushing in the second half yesterday.
Wow!
In the second half. In the second half.
Of rushing.
How do you get all those yards in? You have enough time to do it.
They have the oxygen to do that.
Well, you got two 15-minute quarters.
I got that email because you go on the website and the stats aren't active yet. I would have to look at the email, and I went, "Is that a typo?" And then another email came in. Oh, sorry, this is a typo. I'm like, oh, no kidding.
There it is.
Oh no, they put the wrong team name. It said Wildcats instead of Huskies, and this. I'm like, so that was right. They put almost 300 yards rushing in the second half.
Scary stuff,
That's
man.
amazing.
I don't know.
How's their kicking though?
I was about to how far did you go with your kicking? Punter, right?
What?
I did.
Well, he's a punter.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, you had.
Was it one bar? Did you do the one bar?
Oh, that's a good question.
What do you mean the one bar?
The
helmet
Bob
with just
Cameron,
the one
Bob
bar.
Cameron.
I get Bob Cameron.
No, I mean,
Dating you now,
this is
Trevor
high
Kennard.
school football in Cold Lake back in the late 80s.
So no bars.
No. Leather helmet. Yeah.
That's where the pie
They made
eating
him
came
tougher.
from.
I mean, how many guys are on a high school football team?
What were you doing, like 6-man, or was it?
Well, I think you could have like between 40 and 50.
50.
Oh, you can, yeah.
We had guys who would play more than one position.
The Iron Man.
Oh, you went so you had the
Because I was the punter, but I would be like the fifth D lineman or the fifth linebacker, so I would sub in all the time. So I didn't have the
if you're on the
bar.
road, or changes. Whatever. If you're on the road, your roster decreases.
How was the punt? Like the punting that you just couldn't go to the next level?
The punt. Man, if I wrote a book, an autobiography, there would be a paragraph, or not a paragraph, a chapter just called The Kick or The Punt.
But you are a
the
punter
effing
by
kick.
trade. Like the defensive line stuff was like not, you just subbed
Hey,
it.
I had a sack.
Okay.
I had an interception, and I had a fumble recovery.
This is
You had a
go.
interception as a defensive lineman.
No, I was for that one. I was a linebacker.
Okay.
I've also had ones that hit me square in the chest and just like shocked. Like, how do you not catch that?
That's the punter.
Right in the numbers.
Hold up. That's a good pass knockdown.
There you go.
Yes.
That's
You gotta look at it differently, right?
That wasn't
gonna
just you dropped
Yeah.
it.
Change their perception.
That's a
of it.
pass knockdown by Guy Flaming right there. Another one.
Yeah. But the punt was
What was the punt
the
again?
big claim to fame. We had a team that was coming in. Let's see, from Cold Lake. Our biggest rival was Bonneville. I don't think it was against the canoe heads. We called them the Voyageurs. They had a canoe on the side of their helmets, so we call them the canoe heads. Anyway, but I kicked a ball. I got all of it. And the guys are lined up maybe 35, 40 yards, like for a punt in high school football. Well, I cleared him, and probably by about 10 yards. So it was probably a legit 50-yard punt. I got all of it. But then I got a friendly bounce, and it was going end over end over end. It ended up being a 72-yard punt. So it was
Okay.
It was good. That coach
Little
came
John
running out
Ryan
onto the
action.
field.
Yeah.
My coach, Jim Pablo, came running out onto the field and gives me a big hug and stuff. Like, okay, that was cool. Yeah, so that was my big claim to fame. But I also had in Lloydminster, in a hurricane, kicking into the wind, a negative yardage punt.
Oh, one of those, eh?
Yeah. So I had a 72-yarder, and I had one where I was scrambling because the snap was bad or something, and I was and I shanked it off my foot and went straight up, and then the wind blew it back. So, yeah, I've been on both ends of the spectrum for sure.
It affects the net a bit, I guess, but overall, you're the good number.
I've had a negative golf shot before.
Okay.
Is that right?
Hit a tree, bounced back behind me. I was like, awesome. And I had to go back and hit again, so I had a negative drop shot. That's my poor claim to fame of golf. Yeah. You would play football?
Never played football.
No?
No. I also can't skate. Played a lot of ball hockey and street hockey in my life. I know
street
it's
hockey is the
embarrassing.
best. No,
People
street
give me,
hockey's
you
the best.
can't skate? Are you kidding? So, I've been the sanitation technician in the crease for ball hockey games. And, no. Golf, though.
Oh, yeah?
Golf, yeah.
Self-trained. When I lived in Whitecourt years ago, there's not a lot else to do in Whitecourt at the time, so you just golf. So
I need to move to a small town then.
So what was the highlight moment of your sporting career?
When it comes to like the playing sports,
Yeah.
It actually, guys, great question. Thanks for asking. It just happened last year. Playing ball hockey, got my first hat trick.
Wow.
No way.
I always put up pretty decent numbers in ball hockey. My first hat trick happened last year.
How much did you celebrate?
I was shocked, actually. My line mates were more excited for me. So my first goal, I think I found a way around the back of the net, and ball just bounced, and I was on my offhand, so I backhand just like whacked it in, and then the other one was a tapping in the side, and then right off the draw, like, stay out there. I'm like, okay, so I'm feeling it. So a ball comes to me off the half wall. I'm on the right side. There's like 5 guys in front of the net. I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna grip it and rip it. I almost did one of those eyes closed. Let's just see where this goes. It felt like it was going off the glass. Nope. I hear this ping, and my line mates both go, whoa, and I just went, what just happened? Did I just get a hat trick?
Wow.
I've had
Like bar down on the hat
like
trick?
I bar
look at
down
you.
hat trick. I know.
Hello.
And I've had some 2-goal games before. I've had breakaways when I've had a 2-goal game with an empty net and missed it. But this was like the defining moment of my sports life. Like, and since then I haven't scored a goal through like 11 games.
Wow.
So yeah,
Hole in one?
never.
No, okay. Same.
No hole in one.
Close.
Those are hard.
I put one about that far away from the
Really?
one. Yeah, at Kananaskis.
Oh, that's a nice course, too.
Yeah, really nice. It was this it's Kidd and the other one. Do you remember the names of the courses at Kananaskis?
No, I've never played there.
Oh, yeah, there was
I
one.
haven't
It was
been
a par
lucky enough.
3 looking down across a river to a green that was down, and I missed it by about 6 inches or so.
Yeah, a lot of golfers have that. I was so close.
That's true.
Not as many
6
inches.
inches.
And then you see the
What's
pros.
your,
I want to
Golf?
I wanna
Don't-
go-
I-
no,
I
I
got
wanna know
nothing.
your sporting highlight.
Mini- sporting
secondary
highlight.
in high school football. Were you not?
Me? No, I never got to play high school football because
No?
my coaches and kinsmen, who would all be locked up today if they instituted their coaching practices, kinsmen football in Saskatoon was nuts. And I had a lot of good. I played soccer when I was really, really young. Got a lot of participation ribbons from that. It was great. 5-a-side as you do. Nobody keeps score, and it was all great. But then, football, boys. And before you start putting on the equipment there, you play the flag. So I was playing flag at like 10. And it was Silverwood Lawson Jaguars with these blue shirts. It was just a shirt. That was the uniform. But I had a couple great 70-yard touchdowns. It was like just a quick hitch pass type of thing, and then I took it and I just ran. I sprinted.
Flag's going to be in the Olympics though. I think, in
It is. It's going to be
2028.
announced.
That's right.
Exactly.
Yeah, it came out.
So this kind of like it's all coming circle for me here. I am kind of getting emotional.
Campaigning for Trey Ford to be head of Team Canada.
That's
Zoom right
fun
in on
football. I
Eric's
still
face
know
here,
a couple of guys back home that do that. They'll do it at it's the Sands Golf Dome in Saskatoon, but it's just an indoor
Flag
or
football?
whatever. Yeah, flag
James
football.
Duthie's big into flag football.
Hell of a night
He
out
hurt
with the
his
boys.
hand or
Yeah.
something once.
Flag's big in Edmonton.
Yeah.
I got a buddy
It's
of mine
fun.
who's plays D2.
Try it out. Yeah, it's good. But
should put a team in.
Kinsman was the football you played before the high school, and some hilltops would actually get in there. Like I played against Sheldon Ball one night when before I even hit puberty, and he was already full. It was just nuts. But I
am
hurt
12.
my neck. I hurt my neck a lot. Yeah, well, it was hurt my neck, hurt my head. It's just bad practices and they're making guys with broken arms do push-ups.
Wow.
Because it was back then it was football manly, that was the whole
Right.
football. We've come a long way, baby. But and then so
I hope we came a long way from
well,
that.
we I think we have, just given the those hits and everything. We did the drill, the what do you call it?
The Oklahoma?
Arkansas, Oklahoma.
Where you line
motoring-
up against each other and just hit each other?
We would motor in a circle, motor or whatever. You're motoring, and then coach psychopath would be like, okay, 28 and 58. And then you just be like, okay, where's 50? And then he's already running at you. So you got to,
Wow.
and then it's always you against like an O lineman or something. I mean, I was a DB for crying loud, and I'd have to go smoke. And then the coaches would put on their equipment after practice sometimes, where they go out and like, you guys aren't running around enough today. They'll put their hats and harnesses on and just come swack us around like. And then the parents are all watching, and they're like, okay, time to go home.
You're just describing my Instagram reels that I watch throughout the weekend of like two guys just annihilating each other.
I mean, they burnt the tapes, but it was like basic training. I want to equate it to. I was never in the Army.
Oklahoma drill was big in football for a long time. And then it's actually funny because Dan Campbell was the interim coach of the Dolphins a few years ago, now head coach of the Lions. And he did the Oklahoma drill in one of his first practices, and it was this big story because it was like, how are you doing Oklahoma drill in this day and age?
It's a violent sport, and I think you could still institute some of those practices, albeit with positional thought in mind. I mean, having a DB run up against an O-lineman in practice, we practiced so hard all week. We'd be so beat up by the time the weekend came that the other team would just kick the crap out. Like it was a no contest because we would all week we'd spend kicking the crap. But the one moment, I guess, and it wasn't even a moment, our DB's coach, the whole thing was he wanted us to wear makeup.
I actually like this.
You line up against the receiver, and because that's what him and his boys did in high school all the time. So you put a little like eye stuff on, and then you blow him a little kiss, and all this stuff. And then he starts then you go back at him with like, and then it was like this thing where now you're in their head, and they're so confused at the point when you're out there like that, and we didn't even want to do that. We didn't want to. But we were like forced to because you're on a team, and if you don't do the team stuff, you're not a team player.
This has turned into the therapy session.
Oh, dude, I got a lot. You got stories that not even worth the hangout. But kids are crying. They'd pass like this wooden idol around the room. You'd have to kiss it, and kids are like, we're all like 13, 14, man. And then so like come high school time, and a couple of these guys would play high school, and the high school coaches wouldn't let them play Kinsman anymore because you gotta pick one. You can only be in one gang. And guys were like, well, I got to finish it with the other gang. No, you're in high school now. So there's a lot of fighting between high school and Kinsman. But yeah, some of those practices, man, they'd all be locked up. I overheard my coach say one time, like, these guys aren't hungry enough. If I could throw a piece of raw meat on the field and none of them would. I'm like do we need to be fighting over raw meat? Like, well, I'm with my friends on the playground, but. Kinsman football, baby.
While you've got drag queen makeup on,
not the full thing, just a bit of.
Under the eyes.
A bit on this. And then
Lipstick.
a little rouge.
A little wink, yeah.
Drove
him nuts.
That takes Scotty Bowman painting the walls, like for the visiting team, to the next level. That's
we didn't win once when I was there, but we tied one night against the Babineau Warriors, and the coaches took us out for hot chocolate. Makeup, kissing wooden idols, push-ups with one hand when you're broken arm, hot chocolate for a tie, boys. 3 years of the program.
For your pervert-free OnlyFans.
Exclusive.
More stories to come. Just straight up of.
What is the athletic?
I don't have a lot. Yeah, no. I did try out for football, got rocked and I just quit.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I was too small. I was a little chubbier as a kid, but I was too short and stuff.
I cannot picture you as a chubby kid.
I was very short, so I was chubby. And then I grew, and it's like the weight filled out my body.
I can't picture
stuff.
you short.
So,
this is a different world.
Up until college. I was short up
Really?
until college, and then I grew up. So grew up tall-wise.
But no, I love playing volleyball in school and stuff. That was always a fun game.
I was great at badminton when we played that one. Volleyball, I was really good. Our teachers and stuff, they'd force everyone to learn how to serve overhand.
Oh,
but I had such a good underhand, they didn't make me.
Well, you could place it with the underhand.
I could
you always pick that one person, and you're like, I got you, I'm coming for you.
And with
you
underhand,
just pick on them, right?
I could do it, and there would be like a little movement of my ball, and I was great.
Little
with my
English on
underhand.
that thing. Yeah.
I don't know how I did it, but I was fantastic.
You meant to do
knuckleball with a volleyball.
Football and stuff. I was always good at intercepting footballs. I could read.
Oh, you could really ball hawk and flag football. Yeah,
yes.
Yeah.
Wow. Yes, but nothing too spectacular. So I don't have a 72-yard punt. I don't have kissing idols. I don't have a full hat trick or anything like that. So
Thank you.
Shumka dancer.
Right there.
I was a Ukrainian
Still a
dancer.
moment. I still get.
Whoa!
Is it a
You were
Shumka
getting
dancer?
emotional. I get emotional thinking about it too.
Shumka is one of the organizations for the.
But you did Ukrainian dancing.
Oh yeah,
that trumps everything.
I got a photo.
That's a physical talent.
I
Unlike any
quit
other.
earliest out of my family members.
He sent
was
me a
lucky.
photo though.
Did I send it to you?
I still have that.
This is a nasty club.
That's right.
This is an exclusive.
There's a thing.
Do we get the photo? We get the photo. You get a copy.
I can't remember why I sent that to you.
Because I think they were doing Ukrainian dancing at the Oil King game.
Why
or
did you
something.
stop? And
when you're in school as a young kid and you're not it's not exactly the coolest thing to go around telling you, like,
but you don't go around
Ukrainian
telling people.
dance.
No. But
like, hey, what are you doing this weekend or something? I'm going to Ukrainian dance festival tournament. Like,
you could lie.
Doesn't happen.
I'm gonna go play football.
It's
and
one of
eat
those
raw meat in
towns.
the
It's
field.
one of those towns. If you knew, like you stick with it, and now this is like a. I mean, that's a hell of a thing to do.
It's a good party trick, right?
Hell,
You're just sitting there hanging out.
Yeah.
Hey guys, you want to just clear some room here?
Start doing the thing.
You're like, whoa, what is
The
going on?
Kolomenka, I never got into the Kolomenka. That's the circle everyone goes into at a wedding and stuff. So
No?
what they could do, what some of those Ukrainian dancers could do is amazing. I never got that high. I can still do some of it.
Is that your party trick? Would you just pull it out and just know?
See, he's talking low now because he knows there's.
No.
You get a full 2-minute dancing video of I want it for the
Somebody's got a
best
video.
video.
Somebody's got a video out there, I'm sure.
Not a
somewhere.
chance. Not a chance. I'm very careful of what's out there and what's not. I'm very. There's
Your
not a lot
Christmas
of
party, Guy's going to be eating pie, and Iwanyk's just Ukrainian dancing there. Eric's got the
I'll put
lipstick
it all on.
on.
Yeah, we'll do it all.
We'll have a great time with that.
PTSD.
I wish I had a good golf one, but I don't.
You've had a hole in one.
No. I've been close.
You're out
like,
enough.
with
Yeah,
like you're really close, like 2 inches away, and you wish.
Ever tried the Happy Gilmore on the course?
The closest
pool
I have
shot?
to trying that actually hurt my shoulder and have a torn labrum still, and this is what's caused it.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, so
Kids, don't try it at home, man.
I destroyed a club on a Happy Gilmore.
Did you?
I crushed it a couple weeks before, and so I was out with a bunch of different buddies. They're like, try it again. I'm like, okay. So, you just duff it and just. I thought, okay, great. Just leave it in the bag for at least a year just to brag about it. And then after that, it's like, no, I just.
I've broken 3 clubs in my life golfing. 2 out of stupidity, 1 out of anger.
Okay.
So one was there was a ball in a tree branch, like a spruce tree and stuff, and I had like a graphite shaft. And I was like, play it as it lies. Like, Happy Gilmore. Dad's like, just take it down. Like, don't hit that. No. So I went up and I went, hit it, and it snapped. The other one I was right by like a power pole, like the cable that holds it in place. And my buddy and brother and dad like, just move it away. And I was like, no, I was doing practice swings. I'm like, I could stop beforehand. And then, of course, when the actual shot happens, follow through too far and snap that 5-iron in half. And then one I just whipped at a cart because I was angry. I wasn't going to.
You ever hacked one?
I whipped it right. Like, I was just so angry. I just
At a
whipped it.
cart?
It was at my cart. It was actually around.
Someone driving by.
What people were in it? Like,
I was
Hi,
golfing.
good afternoon.
Bam.
I was actually, that was one round I was golfing with my mom, which was probably not the best time to do it. But I was having a tough time chipping it onto the green and stuff. I was going back and forth on the other sides of the green, so I just finally whipped it, nails the side of the cart, and it just snapped in half. So
That was from Ukrainian dancing, Mom.
Yeah, message sent.
Yeah.
So 3 clubs broken. Again, 2 stupidity, 1 out of anger. So, which I guess you can claim
They're
also
expensive, aren't they?
stupidity.
Those golf clubs? It's not.
They can be.
They're not cheap.
Don't do it with your driver. That one can be expensive. So
You ever hucked one in the woods? From
I don't
frustration?
own any.
into the woods?
Oh, yeah,
I've never done that.
No.
You?
No.
You ever tossed one?
No.
There's a club in the tree somewhere in the White Court Golf and Country Club.
Good luck.
It was one that I found. Like, it was just somewhere like by a dumpster or something. I'm like, oh, there's a golf club. Okay, I was just starting into golf. So took it out. It was a fairway wedge or whatever. So fairway hybrid. And I wasn't doing well. I was having a really bad day. And I was like, okay, forget this. It's like, that'll never happen again. But that was my moment.
I like keeping one around though, just in case you need to.
Yeah,
It's the
in
one
case you
you
need to
found.
huck
Like,
it.
the garbage club.
Yeah, there it is. Just
I
toss
think
it.
golf carts need like almost punching blades added to the side of it, so I could take my club up and just beat that when I have a bad
whack
shot,
it,
as
yeah.
opposed to going into the ground or something like that. Like, give me something,
foam pad.
to unleash my anger, because at least once around, I want to smash my club into something, and there's no good spot to smash your club. So
I never played that often where I would get that passionate. I was never a good golfer. Never a good golfer.
I'm not a good golfer.
I've
I
had some
still
good
do it.
shots, but never a good golfer. And I would really only golf with work. I wasn't much of a. I have free time. I'm going to go play golf on my own or with buddies. But I was at a business. It was like some sort of tournament, probably a scramble, where a guy in my foursome got so angry, and it was on the green, he took his putter and like double hand axe throw into this tree and broke it. And I was just stunned. I'd never seen anybody react like that.
Wow.
And he was just so pissed off. And I it's like, I can't get that depressed about how bad my golf game is.
I don't know how many we're at with you today, Keith.
You must be up in double digits by now, actually.
Disney clubs just swear.
It's the EST Hangout. We're just hanging out.
I think it was Rory McIlroy. I think it was him. There's a tournament where just a few years ago he took his club and threw it in the water.
Really?
He was upset. Yeah. So even like the pros do this every so often. I've seen them.
Is there a penalty for that?
And stuff.
At the PGA?
A little more on the line, though, you could argue.
Like maybe there's a fine later, but you're just out of that club for the rest of the rounds. You can't replace your club in your bag later. Like it's if you break your driver, even by accident, you can't replace it during your round and stuff. So he was out with it. Some people have broken putters or things like that, and they have to putt with something else.
Wow.
What would you putt with?
It depends. Some people could, like if you have a hybrid, it's good enough that you could putt nicely with that. Wedges aren't. It's not that
like
hard.
A 5-wood maybe.
It's not hard to putt with a wedge, even if you have the right one.
I guess.
Like you get a 7-iron even or something. If the loft's not too crazy, you could hit that nicely. Yeah. So there's ways around it. Dave Dawson, Guy Flaming, Lieutenant Eric, Matt Iwanyk with here on the EST Hangout. Lieutenant Eric wearing the Edmonton Sports Talk hat, which is brought to us by the official merch partner of Edmonton Sports Talk, the Hive Product Marketing. Products that bring the buzz, thehiveproductmarketing.com. Are you taking an Instagram or what are you doing?
Yeah, it's for the... yeah, there you go. Yeah.
We will have the store of EST hopefully open up next Monday where you can buy merchandise like that hat, a hoodie, a sweater, coffee mug. You could also get some of that merch right now in the Nasty Club if you buy the annual memberships. I do want to get into the Paris Jewelers inbox, 780-218-9999 quickly. This question for Guy, and it's not about swearing. I'm heading to Minnesota for the Oilers game next Tuesday. I'm going to take in a Minnesota-Wisconsin hockey game.
Nice.
Who are the players they should be looking out for? Is there any players off the top of their head? That you might know?
Let's see. Wisconsin, they just had a guy named William Whitelaw who was drafted, like third round, little guy, but talented. Might not be the best guy in the dressing room from what I'm told, but if you're watching for a hockey player, he's one. Minnesota's going to be stacked. The Gophers have lots of players. Let's see. Sam Renzel on the back end. He's a first-round pick of the Chicago Blackhawks, freshman this year. The Golden Gophers, they're like Michigan. They always have a line of guys who want to play for them, so they're never going to be a bad team. The Gophers will be good. Jimmy Snuggerud is probably their best player right now. I forget who drafted him off the top of my head, but that will be really good. That's a good rivalry too, so that will be a really fun weekend.
I called a Sam Renzel end-to-end goal at the World Junior A Challenge last year for Team USA. Picked up the puck behind the net, just effortlessly like butter right through. Put a top shelf. Like incredible guy. He's a good guy to watch.
Where'd you go watch the Frozen 4?
That was in St. Paul.
Was it? How was it? Like that's a great hockey market, is it not?
Oh yeah, Minnesota's it's crazy. It's cult-like atmosphere for hockey, especially high school hockey, which is very different from what we have, right? Where teams play for their minor hockey league team, but in the United States, especially Minnesota, it's high school hockey is dominant. There isn't a Western Hockey League team there. There isn't a USHL team in Minnesota. There is no junior hockey in Minnesota because high school hockey is so dominant, which is really weird. It's a little bizarre, but the passion for hockey in Minnesota is it's like Southern Manitoba. Basically, that's the running joke is Minnesota is Southern Manitoba, and the Frozen Four it's exceptional. It's an experience for sure. The atmosphere of college hockey is a lot of fun. You get the bands in the rink, and you don't think that, well, what's that going to do? But it really improves the atmosphere. The student sections are fantastic as well. So it was a lot of fun.
The student sections are so important to bring in an atmosphere. Like
Speaking of the Drake,
visiting
teams in behind. Yeah, that was last hour. But watching a game of the Drake, I mean,
you win before the puck is dropped or the ball is kicked or whatever it is. Yeah.
And maybe I was too young, but I don't feel like the student section was that significant over the years. And over the last X number of years, maybe 6-7 years, it's become a huge thing. Yeah. You go to a game at the Drake, in that corner, it's the student section, and they bring a great time, a great atmosphere right next to the visitors who are already in that cramped bench where there's no room. Yeah. And it's
you're the opposing goal. You're getting the chants all over you.
Yes.
Are they chanting at the Golden Bears games? Do they have chants?
I don't think they have chants like other support, like maybe in college, down south or something. It's the typical, like if it's a goalie, whatever his name is.
No chant his last name.
Smith or whatever it might be. Right. Like they do those type of things. They'll maybe yell some things. But Like, I think it's just in Canada. In
No
general,
songs with
maybe
verse, chorus,
we don't
verse,
really
or-
have songs for
That is
chants.
so phenomenal when you look at U.S. college hockey. Some of those chants.
It's
It's
really cool.
unbelievable experience.
It's really cool. I mean, you can go to some places. I want to say it's Cornell. It's not Cornell, but it's one of the Ivy League schools where the teams come out, and depending on who their opposition is, their arch rival. I'm going to say it's Cornell. I don't think it is. But if it's Cornell and Yale, the opposition team comes out, and it's dead quiet in the rink. Everybody is holding up like newspapers, like they're ignoring the opposition.
Oh, I love that.
And then
Silence.
when their team comes on, they go bananas, right? There's another rink where, depending on who the opposition is, another arch rival, the fans litter the ice with fish. It's just like, I don't know how that starts, but it's a tradition,
need
and
to
they
bring
still
that
do
in.
it.
I loved it.
It's amazing.
Well, I love the silence part. I'd almost like laughing as
great.
well if the opposing team comes on for the pregame or whatever.
No
everybody
one's
starts
done that.
laughing.
Just start laughing
Just
at
start
it and pointing.
Yeah, it's
I'm all
great.
for that.
Yeah. And the chants are top notch as well.
There's just something Canada's never adopted it.
Yeah.
It just has like, because soccer's well known for their chants and their supporter sections. The States has figured out in their college, whether it's football, basketball, hockey, they've got it going. And just for some reason in Canada, it hasn't really picked up, except I guess to a degree in some of the soccer teams there are. I know Whitecaps have a good supporters group. I think TFC does as well. And then there's the Voyagers for Canada soccer overall. But it's still, it's not at that full level that you get down south or overseas or something like that. Even the hockey apparently in Europe is the same incredible atmosphere, that very soccer type feel.
Water polo has got a atmosphere that would make hockey blush here.
It's
but-
surprising, though, with Canada being such a melting pot, and we have our population is made up of people from everywhere else,
Right.
that we haven't continued that, or those traditions haven't come with the people.
Well, I know the student section at Taylor Field, old place that the Rough Riders used to call home. You'd buy the ticket; it'd be a cheap ticket.
This is
you
where
didn't
I
have
sat
to be
with you guys?
Yeah, didn't have to be a student, but it was cheap. But on the ticket, it would say, if you want to enjoy the game, you might want to look at another place to sit because this might be, and that's a good
And then
warning.
there was the hill. You could buy a ticket on the hill.
Hemorrhoid
there,
Hill,
too.
you could sit in the end zone, but this was on the east sunny side, but it was that final kind of section,
Right.
So in the bleacher
behind the
seating.
visitors.
Not a good eyesight, like not the best place
But
to
you're
go
not
to a video
there to
game.
watch
But that's why it's the
football,
college
like,
section, right?
yeah.
So like they bring people in there, but again, pregame warmups, you guys in front of us like catching balls and doing stuff, but that section and they'd be educated. They'd know which college they went to. They'd know the name of the guy's girlfriend, and then right then and there, you'd get not so much chants or songs constructed, but a guy would say something, another guy would pick it up, then a couple of other people, and then 20, 30 people are doing the same thing. And again, you'd win before the game started sometimes because that section would bring the heat, bring the fire right before the game started, then carry it throughout the game.
Right.
But I think that too. And to kind of answer your question, why not? I mean, that took years to kind of develop and bring apart. And I think, all these sections, they need to be together for some time. It needs to kind of go on and go on and go on. Then it becomes a thing. And if you're younger, you grow up wanting to be a part of that. You get it. You then take the torch and pass it off. And it's got to be that kind of generational thing. And I think some teams, especially like North American sports, we try to create it. And here
It's
are your
not
song
organic.
sheets. Turn to
Yeah.
page 5.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
no, it's got to be an
Right.
organic thing. And
Yeah.
that's tough to do when people are trying to make money.
Yeah, it's true.
For the Elks, I think. Again, then this goes back to one of their mistakes. And the CW's bar growing up was like the spot where you saw it was party, like it was packed. You never wanted to walk through it, and they closed it down. And then they've reopened it, but it's not the same as it once was. And growing up was like, I would love to be old enough to go hang out and watch a game there where all you're doing is drinking and watching a football game type thing.
Yeah.
But they got rid of that atmosphere, and you can't just do it.
You can't create
You can't
it.
force it.
No,
'Cause there's always someone to spoil it. Really,
Yeah.
there's always one person who takes it too far. Remember,
Yes.
Sit down. I'm
growing
trying
up-
to watch the
growing
game.
up in Winnipeg-
Falls. Yeah.
Growing up in Winnipeg, back when I used to drink, I don't drink anymore, but there was this guy, you could go 25-cent draft nights, buck of beer nights, right? There was one guy who had too much, ends up falling off of a bridge, kills
yeah,
himself.
and
right?
that's-
And then beer prices jack up.
And as an owner, I'm concerned.
There's-
I am concerned about
Absolutely.
that because now it's a
Right?
concern.
There's different
People
rules that go
ruin-
into place.
Yes.
People ruin
Yeah.
experiences,
Yeah.
right? So
CW's bar. CW's bar.
Section
I wish
28.
it was it's just even going there. It was so easy to walk
section
by.
O's in the ups or in the upper
Well,
part,
The
isn't it?
big section.
Yes.
They're gonna have to move down.
So yeah,
And there have been talk
There's-
about that. I know a scout from Elksford was talking. They were talking online. They're going to have to redo that whole section O. But again, this is the chance to do something else now, to start a new tradition and create, and away you go. It's too bad that has to happen. But,
Mosaic hasn't had the carryover.
well, no, and that's
Right? Well,
they
no, they
tried to
haven't.
create it with the end zone, the
Yeah.
pill zone or whatever. They tried to create. Here it is. have at her.
There
and
hasn't
it's
been the natural location that everyone went to from the old place.
No. And that's it. I mean, it is a bit of a cheaper ticket. It's an end zone, not even a seat. You have to stand now, and you can't make people do it, I guess, which kind of sucks. But
I'm surprised the Oilers haven't actually tried some more.
As
to build
am
that.
I. Just have a little section
where
right?
you take half a section, you sell tickets a little cheaper,
Discounted,
You
yeah.
discount some other things, including
If you want to
beers
stand,
and stuff.
if you want to do
but
this
you
and that.
make it very known that the expectation of whoever's sitting in the section is going to be, if you want to stand, you could stand. If you want to yell, you can yell.
Yeah.
There might be some, Guy might be there with obscenities, just swearing all over the place.
He'd be the example.
He's going to be the inspiration for everyone there. And so if you have little kids,
Just have a little net across. It's like a smile face on it, so then swears don't look like they're actually coming out. Just blowing bubbles every time it's a swear.
If you have kids, don't be like right, in that section or something, and see if you can create that type of atmosphere because Oilers get praised. Actually, Sean Bell and Tom Gazzola had this chat a little bit on Hello Hockey this past Saturday. Like the Oilers get praised for the playoffs atmosphere and the noise, and Oilers fans really bring it.
Yeah.
But during the regular season, it's really quiet. And you go look at places like Vegas or even Winnipeg's known for just having the fans showing up throughout the regular season. And I'm just surprised the Oilers haven't tried to do something
as
more
you say, though,
to build that.
With
People
everything,
get kicked out for actually chanting almost.
But college hockey, your experience mostly, I mean, we're talking kind of football and stuff. Any one of those, you have that you make that one section and then it'll cascade. Like you don't have to worry as much about the rest. That'll all come in time. That one section will get things going, and then it'll just kind of meander on through the building for the rest of the night.
Where would be the ideal section at Rogers Place?
That's a good question.
See, and that would be tough because, naturally, you'd maybe think upper bowl.
Like we can rule out the lower bowl, right?
Like that's
to be
on
away
TV?
from certain people. Like I understand. Like initially, I would think you'd want it kind of away from initially where all the major season seat holders are and maybe some kids and stuff. But it's also very steep up there. And if you're saying legit, if you're going to say hey, we're going to discount some drinks, we really want to bring some atmosphere, it could get a little dangerous.
You have to keep it safe. Yes.
So maybe
is it a private boxer too?
I think in soccer, it's more in the corner.
They do have those in the corner.
It's usually generally more. So maybe
it's not the hottest
either
tickets.
You're
That's
behind
kind
the
of
net or in the corner of the lower bowl.
One of the pie-shaped sections.
You do one of those.
That wouldn't be bad, and you get still a TV
upper
view.
half or something. That's yours. You want to bring flags, wave some flag, whatever.
Yeah,
that's yours.
But wouldn't you want it to be visible on TV?
I don't care about
ideally,
the TV
I
part.
would, but
if I was, let's say I'm Daryl Cates and I own the team, I wouldn't care about the TV part of it. I care about will it go through the rest of the crowd. I want the atmosphere.
The hope would be that
is
TV part
for
would,
me. It's about the rink. It's about the in-game atmosphere, not the TV as much.
Yeah, and maybe you wouldn't want to use your most expensive tickets for.
And that's where I would go up high, but then again, I go.
There's a middle ground there though, somewhere, eh?
But like the Canadian soccer games that came to town a couple years ago that we went to, we're in the corner. We're kind of behind that nets. It was not easy to watch that soccer game.
But that was sectioned out for that particular...
the Canadian supporter section, the Voyagers, they got that section. They got tickets to sell for cheaper than other places, but you have to be a member to buy them. And again, the vantage point wasn't great. I think
were there still a couple people bitching about the noise, in that, people standing up or something? I swear that somebody was getting mad. Else. That's what it was. Okay, yeah.
Because of the second game, we sat in the seats and people got mad. We went back to the supporter section.
Couldn't stand life out of the supporter section.
No, you can't. And it was the whole section, but it was for TV. It's not prevalent fully on TV, but it's about the in-game atmosphere.
Creating that atmosphere.
I feel like maybe a good bridge to this is growing up as a wrestling fan. I'm guessing.
It's all wrestling.
What is the one thing that you could always expect going to a wrestling event?
Great show.
Signs.
Oh
yes.
Signs might be the neutral ground because you go around. No one's going to put "Hi, Mom" on camera, but you read some of those signs, you're like, I'm not wearing pants. Okay, that's not going on camera, but I'm going to remember that from that event.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe signs might be that neutral gap for that experience of just bringing some of that youth and some of that atmosphere. And I don't know.
The sign game is the flags, sign, the whole bit. I mean, they got a brass band playing music in there for crying.
I do love it.
You can't tell me
but not
any
everyone
idea.
could hear it. That's the one problem
get
with that.
that,
It's in that corner, and it's not they'll put it up on the video board every so often. But when they're playing most of the time, it's quiet.
For a team with a history such as them, I think there's two. You want to be like, oh, we are so historic and we don't like to do anything new. But you do have that. You have the ability to do that because you do have kind of that clout. You do have a bit of rope, I think, to try ideas. If they're not all going to be home runs.
No.
File 13 of them. Get on with the other one.
Yeah.
But at least try a few things. I mean, the band. I don't really, but I give them credit for trying it. That's great.
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of sticking with people. So have at it.
Yeah.
For wrestling, by the way, he was at a show this summer where people were not happy with
man.
people standing and chanting. Like, think about that. A wrestling show where people are upset
Like Yukon
about
Jack
kids chanting.
brought his buds or his boys
I could
and a couple
talk
friends.
to
And
2
they're
hours of
big
just
wrestling guys too, right?
from the events that I've been in my life, it was such an obsession growing up.
But
mean,
I went with Uke. I went with like we were in a row of just wrestling fans, and like we were all set to have a great day. And everybody there, generally speaking, 98% of the people that we were going in, everybody's like, "Oh yeah, high five!"
The crowd makes a wrestling show.
Well, and that's,
They do.
you know what you're going through at this point.
Yeah.
We're sitting there halfway through the show, and this couple turned around, and they must have just kind of had it, gasket blew or whatever, and just start going off, and about how Uke's boys are yelling too much and repetitive chanting. They couldn't get it. Like, of course you're gonna. So like
Stone Cold made a living on just what?
like this is your
Everyone just
first
yelled,
time
"What?"
at
you
the.
suck.
Couldn't believe it. But at
You
least
suck.
like they didn't whisper to you, hey, could you maybe not even like a strike 1, 2, 3. It was like
Right.
this is it, and they started yelling at a wrestling show of all places.
Wow.
I couldn't believe it.
That's where you would expect free reign to just whatever.
Well, and we were all licking our chops because like now you're gonna get it. Like you've let us see you sweat. Now you're really
all the
gonna
fans you don't poke.
Yeah.
Wrestling
Yeah,
fans
yeah.
are
It
probably
was the most bizarrest move I've ever witnessed. Okay,
And I'm
well,
assuming Yukon had full face makeup going. And
full face makeup, same with his liver. I mean, it was a fun day. So I mean, you're telling him that when he's trying to have a nice day with his boys, and it's like, oh my god. Wrestling.
Adam Anderson into the nasty chat. I think the area right under the Sportsnet Club would be for that type of area. So like for a supporter section at the Oiler game, which is an end zone or behind the net type section.
but not in the lower bowl. That's a section up from the lower
But
bowl.
I don't. But below the Sportsnet Club, I would be then lower bowl,
Oh, it would be.
Okay.
right? Because there's no upper bowl.
I think the
'Cause
lower
that
bowl
is
is
It comes down to
untouchable.
that,
It's
right?
untouchable.
Where are they willing to compromise?
It's untouchable, and that's
when
the
it
thing.
comes to
That's
that,
that's
right?
it.
Then
yeah.
that's where also you go. Can you sacrifice some cash for a better atmosphere?
Sure.
And but I mean, I guess no. I'm
I
gonna
think-
just immediately guess.
Talking from my point of view, as a 37-year-old male who is married, I don't know what all that means, but I still like to go out and have a good time. I would pay a little. I wouldn't pay more than like a lower bowl tip, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I would be tempted to pay a little more if it guarantees me I'm going to a place where I'm not told to sit down, not told to shut up, not told. As much as I may be sitting
If
in a
you're
regular
a
seat,
different
that
spot.
might speak to me more, and maybe a lot more Oiler fans. I don't know.
Oil Kings, how have they been this year so far?
Got off to a great start. 3-0-1, I think it was to start. They've lost 5 in a row since, and that's not great. Although this team is way better than last year, and that's not just drinking the Kool-Aid. It's a much better team. They've got veteran leadership now, and they're in games. The only game they've really been blown out, it was against Saskatoon this past Wednesday. They lost 7-0. The Blades are expected to be one of the best teams in the league. Yesterday they lost 5-2, but it was 3-2 with like 5 minutes left to go, and Red Deer scored one late and then got an empty netter. So it's a developmental league, and this is a team still on the rise. They will be just like last year. They were terrible in September and October and November, much better late in the year. It'll be the same now. Not that they're terrible, but they'll be much better as the season
grow
goes
into the
on.
season.
Absolutely. They've got a couple of their bigger contributors who aren't healthy right now in Nathan Pilling, who I think can score 25, 30 goals this year. He's a bit banged up. And Ty Nash, who is an overage player for them, a 20-year-old who hasn't played at all yet this year. He's about a month away, I guess, knock on wood. And both of those guys in the lineup will inject a lot of offense and leadership, and it'll make them a much better team. So the best is yet to come for this group.
Tomorrow they're back in action Red Deer again?
Yeah,
Is
Red
that
Deer.
over here?
No, it's here again.
Yeah.
Which is a weird schedule for
The
Red
6-game
Deer.
homestand or something for the Oil Kings right now? Or
Yeah.
in the midst. Or?
Yeah, which hasn't gone
Well,
well.
Seattle's played 4
thus far.
games this year. So
Yeah.
Seattle's played 4 games this year.
That's scheduling.
It's weird scheduling.
And Vancouver's played 5.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make any
There's a
sense.
few teams who really, and even Red Deer, I think they've played 6 or 7 now, but it took a while for them to even play their third game. So, yeah, it's a weird scheduling league sometimes, but it's a good schedule right now for fans because there are a lot of good teams coming through. It's bad news for the Oil Kings, but Red Deer here, Seattle's coming up, and somebody else. is coming in right away. That's a really good team too. But Portland's on the horizon. We only see the American teams every second year, but because of the COVID shutdown, it's been a long time since some of those teams have been here. So looking forward to these games against the U.S. division.
Call tomorrow, oilkings.ca.
Oilkings.ca and also the iHeartRadio Canada.
Yes. You guys are on there as well. And what do you have coming up for calls coming soon?
Yeah,
Rest the voice a little more and then get going?
Yeah, it's a lot. So HNLive.ca, we're high-quality streaming amateur and minor sports. We got Rocky Mountain Classic coming up, which is our third year doing that. So it's basically U15 elite club teams, prep teams. That's in Calgary, November 8th to 12th. We do the Sherwood Park Knights, Junior B games of the Capital League, two-time defending champs that Rick Rashog is the general manager of, and Ryan's part of the program as well. So that's great stuff there. We have their home games. We do the Heritage Junior B games of the week as well through that. And then what else we got? We got Hockey Canada stuff coming up. We're the streaming provider for Hockey Canada events. We got the Wilderness Under-17 Challenge coming up, the Women's U18 National Championship in Dawson Creek, BC. I've been up there before a few times.
It's your city.
Yeah. I'm not going to say. I was going to take the humble route, but thanks, Matt Eric. But so always busy, lots on the go, and I love what I do. So
HNLive.ca, the Pipeline Show as well. Coming up tonight, 8 o'clock right here in EdmontonSportsTalk.com. The number 9, episode 9 of season 19.
Season 19. What episode it is?
Forgot.
Started in August.
At least, okay. I'm just
season 19 every week
since
August.
8 o'clock later tonight in RCN. Who, by the way, I'll get in touch with you, RCN, with your kind of easy trivia info because you want, or not kind of easy trivia, text of the day he won. I'll get in touch with you. Nice. He does jump into the Parish Jewelers inbox. We need a Guy and JMO together hangout. # Cuss City. So we'll have the two of you on just so you guys can swear advisory and really build off of each other all of the swearing.
And have blowing bubbles everywhere we swear that comes out, right? Just the atmosphere. Yeah.
And we're going to build our own EST atmosphere with Guy and Dave swearing all the time.
I feel bad now.
Don't. This is going to be
the look in Awanek's face when you first dropped that F-bomb, he was just like, oh, so that's not a common thing. That's great. I caught that right away. I was like, I'm just going to let it go.
Guy, thanks for stopping by once again.
My pleasure.
Dave, thanks for coming in for the first time. Hopefully we'll have you back on at some point throughout.
I'd love to, anytime.
On behalf of Dave Dawson, Guy Fleming, Lieutenant Eric, I'm Matt Iwanyk. Thanks for tuning in to the Hangout. Up next, it is the Lock Shop, Dusty and Huss, Monday Night Football Best Bets, and then coming up at noon, Tom Gazzola rolling in hot from Oilers practice. Him and Dustin Nilsson, they'll get you set on whether or not it's time to panic for the Edmonton Oilers. 0-2. Is it time to blow this up or not? They will tell you at noon, EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Or you could keep watching right here on our YouTube channel. We will redirect you over to the Lock Shop coming up next. Once again, thanks for listening. Enjoy the rest of your Monday. I will chat with you tomorrow.